The heavens flipped, the earth overturned, a world changed. Again, an unjust ruler reigned. The poem says, "A prince from Wuling, a guest in the south, crossed paths with a beautiful woman. A villain, harboring grudge, spoke treacherous words, dispersing the couple's dove-like affections. By Shangren Kong Peach Blossom Fan Shangren Kong, produced by Qing Guo First Session." Seeing the Institute of Plum Flowers filled with people, painting ink lotuses on the tower and granting characters. West River Moon. A brave woman bloodied her fan to leave behind, hiding in the shelter of a true realm, at ease. Handsome beyond compare, his prowess in poetry and prose rivaled 7 steps to a poem. It was said that during the last years of the Ming Dynasty's Chongzhen era, there was a scholar named Hu Fangyu from Henan Guide County, who had a distinguished family lineage, with his ancestors serving as court officials and his father holding the post of Grand Tutor. However, due to rebellion, he failed the imperial examination and found himself listed among the unsuccessful candidates below Sun Shan, a marker indicating failure. With no rest, he sought refuge by the lake, living as an exile on its shores, spending each day composing poems and drinking wine for entertainment. How can true love blossom? One day while studying, he sighed and said, "At 23, Hao Fangyu, I've left my hometown to pursue knowledge, with no name or fame yet, far from home. How can I find a beautiful woman?" He often visited them, finding solace from his solitude. Thankfully, Chen Dingsheng from Yixing and Wu Zipai from Gichu, both in the literary circle, lived in Kai Yizhang's bookstore nearby. He had once arranged for Chen and Wu to visit the Jiuan Institute with him to admire the plum blossoms. The weather was clear that day. Dressed up, they arrived early to keep their appointment. He left his servant in charge of the house and went to Jiuan Institute himself. Upon arrival, he saw verdant grass rolling in the wind, green willows covering the ground. People and women strolled about, 3 or 2, each holding a jade container filled with liquor, all enjoying drinks and merriment. Just as he watched, someone called out, "Oh brother, you're here so early." Fangyu looked up and saw Chen and Wu. They bowed to each other. Fangyu asked Wu, "Can you tell me anything about the rebels?" Wu replied, "Yesterday I saw a record of the rebels' losses. Their defeat was compounded by soldiers, gradually approaching Beijing. Such a dire situation. Hu Lord left his brother Ning Su Hao, a close friend and a bond as deep as blood, now back in Xianzhong with no one in central China to turn to." The 3 men sighed together. "When will this end?" Chen said to his friends. "We may not know when it'll be peaceful. Let's enjoy our time while we can." They continued on their way to the Jiuan Institute, but then a servant rushed up with news. "My lords, you needn't go. Please turn back. Wei Prince and Shu Prince are hosting a gathering at Qinhuai Water Pavilion. They've already filled the institute." The men heard this and felt disheartened, stopping in their tracks. Just as the poet said, "A path to Peach Blossom Garden lies open for the first traveler, but I returned from a fairyland with no connection." Hearing the servant's news, the 3 had nowhere to go. Wu said, "No need to travel far." Only Fangyu still held a desire to visit a beautiful woman he had long thought of, so he turned to Chen and Wu. "Since that's how it is, let's go to the Qin River Water Pavilion and visit some ladies. After all, it'd be amusing." "What do you be amusing?" "Think? You know Liu Jingting from Lujiao, who tells stories so well. He used to entertain at Wuqiao, a famous location, and was praised by the generals Wang Da of Wei and Laozong of Tongqing. I hear he's here now. How about visiting him?" Fangyu, thinking of Liu Jingtian, a known liar, said, "That Liu boy turned into a eunuch, like a monkey playing dress-up with a beard. Someone who tells stories for money, why bother listening?" "Aye." Next tale said, "My brother doesn't know yet," and Guan Baizi slipped through the net and refused to hide, still harboring a courtesan in his pants pocket, cultivating her and promising her rank. I wrote a post called "Preventing Chaos in Jin" to denounce her crimes. This Liu Matu is also among them. How could we not respect him? Those guests only listened when they heard he was part of Xiao Wei's faction. Not waiting for the story to end, they brushed off their clothes and scattered. I had no idea there were heroes in this group. We must go find him. Zhao Zong, upon hearing this, wasn't surprised and exclaimed. He instructed his servant to lead the way, and everyone headed to Liu Matu's house. When they reached the doorway, the servant knocked, and Liu Matu opened the door. Seeing Chen Dingsheng and 2 other gentlemen, he welcomed them into his home. After they sat down, Next Tale asked, "Who is this gentleman? I've never met before." Liu Matu answered, "This is Lord Zhao Zong, a renowned scholar of our time." The three guests expressed their humility and requested teaching. I have long admired his discussions on morality, so I came to seek guidance. Let's just discuss a chapter from the Analects. Liu Matu then said, since you deign to visit an old man like me, I won't refuse, but my tales may be too mundane for your ears. Chen Dingsheng exclaimed, this is exquisite. He moved the table to the center, took up a drumstick and a wooden block, and recited the entire chapter of Jiqize from memory. How invigorating to hear such a recitation today. Truly a masterly skill. Next tale explained. Jingting refused to leave Nguan's home, so he's here in person to demonstrate. Lord Zhao Zong replied, in my view, Jingting is an extraordinary individual with impeccable character and open-heartedness. He is among our peers, but his talent for storytelling is a bonus. Upon hearing the praise, Jingting stood up. The old man only speaks vulgar tales. I'm honored by your kind words. I am ashamed. Lord Zhao Zong then asked Jingting about their companions from the previous day. Jingting answered, everyone else has left, but Su Kunshan still lives nearby and is currently teaching songs in a brothel. Having heard of the brothel, Lord Zhao Zong was already enthralled, and he told Jingting, I also want to pay this place a visit. I'd appreciate your guidance. After they bid farewell to Jingting, the three men left, each with their own thoughts. Lord Zhao Zong, however, had set his sights on visiting the brothel, but didn't know which one in Kyoto was the most renowned. He was told about 2 districts along the Qinhuai River, where both banks were lined with willow trees and brothels, housing many courtesans. Among them was a woman named Li Zhengli, who was a beautiful and skilled performer, known as the head of the moonlit pleasure quarters. She had cultivated a fake young girl, only 16 years old, delicate and charming, who accompanied her to formal dinners. Despite her beauty, she remained pure, rarely entertaining guests in her private chambers. He had been an old friend of Li Zhengli's, and would often visit her brothel. There was also a former county magistrate named Yang Wengxiu, known as Langyo, who was the brother-in-law of Ma Shine, the governor of Fenjiang. Seeing how beautiful her daughter was, at the age when she should have lost her virginity, and with no one to help her prepare, he would often search for young, talented men, charming and gallant to entertain her. On this particular day, as spring brightened Lord Zhao Zong's mood, and having nothing better to do, he decided to visit Li Zhengli's home to chat and pass the time. He called out, is Sister Zhengli at home? As he approached the brothel, he saw a lively scene inside, with laughter and drinking, filled with the aroma of spring, a sight that captivated him. Do you? Sealing the call, she saw it was Yang Longyao, an old friend, so she let her daughter go up to the makeup floor. Longyao boasted to Sealing, my love, we haven't seen each other for days, you've become even more beautiful. When Longyao ascended, he looked at the countless poems on the walls and wanted to admire them, but all he saw was Xiaoer finishing her makeup. She walked forward, bowing and offering 1,000 blessings. Before sitting down, he glanced at the wall again and exclaimed, it's not off by much. Seeing a poem stripped by Zhang Tianru and Xia Zhong, he was surprised. These are famous officials who have dedicated poems. He picked up paper and brush, composed a verse, then said, since I can't rival them, I'll keep it hidden. I'll just paint a bamboo land with ink and adorn the bare wall. He noticed a stone painting by Lan Jing on the right and said, this is a masterpiece. I'll write my poem beside it, using his background as inspiration. Thank you, Yang, sir. In no time, he finished the bamboo painting and asked Sealing, my love, what signature do you suggest? Sealing laughed and said, that's brilliant. Longyao added, now even the floor has a name. Yang Wenkong, Gizxiu. He signed his poem. Spring in Zhangkun, I composed this bamboo painting on Xianting floor, hoping to bring a smile to Ms. Xiang. Sealing and Ms. Xiang bowed to thank him, saying, the painting and poetry are both excellent. They're a double masterpiece. With such a fine artwork, our floor shines with brilliance. They had food and drinks prepared, enjoying the spring scene without further mention. It's like, idle in the green pavilion, watch parrots, indolent at the red gate, admire peonies. Today we'll practice songs. Come up to the floor. Meanwhile, Longyao was still drinking and chatting on the floor when someone whispered from below. I left in Yuan's office, wandered into a brothel, became a teacher for this beauty. Isn't that better than being an adopted son? When Longyao heard this, he was surprised and greeted the visitor. I didn't know you were here. Forgive my lack of hospitality. The visitor turned out to be Su Kunsheng, so Longyao exclaimed, Kunsheng, it's been a long time since you left Guyan's. I'm delighted to meet you again. They exchanged greetings and sat down. Longyao asked, Kunsheng, "How come you're just idling here?" Longyao said. "Sealing is indeed the embodiment of beauty in this world." Before Kunshang could answer, Sealing explained to Longyao, "This is Mr. Su, who came to teach our young lady songs. He's been with us for over a month. With Kunshang's teachings, she'll surely master song and become a famous courtesan one day." He turned to Kunshang. "Congratulations on gaining such a remarkable pupil. Can you tell me what songs you're teaching?" Kunshang replied, "It's the 4 Dreams from Yu Ming Tang." Longyao inquired further, "How much have you learned?" "I've finished half of the peony pavilion," Kunshang answered. He asked Longyao to join them, saying, "Since Yang Sir is here, let me perform what I've learned for him." Ms. Xiang moved closer to Kunshang and sang each song flawlessly. "If someone were to dress you up, you'd be a perfect couple with any man." Longyao was delighted, smiling broadly as he told Sealing, "Your intelligence and beauty are unmatched. Your voice and appearance are both charming." He turned to Kunshang. "Yesterday I met Lord Hao of Henan Hongzhou Huzonggronga, wealthy guest with a cultured mind. He's 21 years old here, looking for a beautiful sister. Did you know that, Kunshang?" "No," Kunshang said. "This is our family tradition. He's definitely a talented boy." "I wonder if Jingniang will agree?" Longyao said, "Yesterday I happened to mention the apprenticeship. The master was deeply moved." Jingniang replied, "Since Prince has come to dress me, it's perfect. How could I not agree? I beg Master Yang to help us make this happen. Of course I'll be grateful." Longyao heard this and was overjoyed. He drank a few more cups, then stood up to bid farewell to Xiangjun and Kunshang, leaving the room. Kunshang also returned to his room. Jingniang stayed in her chamber, drinking softly to appreciate the spring light. Just then, full of willows, the curtain dances, a cup of fragrant wine lingers longer. When will Hao and Xiang meet? Find out next time. Second episode on Cleansed Earth. Spring outing encounters, beauty, warm spring greens on the 6th floor. Passers-by crowd, secluded bookish man sits idle. Suddenly, someone calls from outside, "Is Hao at home?" As he was about to open the door, Liang Jingtian had already entered. Jingtian said, "Old man has nothing to do today. Let me accompany you in watching flowers and walking in the green. What could be better?" Hu agreed, changing his clothes and heading out with Jingtian. The two hadn't exchanged greetings when Jingtian said, "In this clear afternoon sun, living in a place of exquisite beauty, tourists bustling past, why does the bookish man sit idle in his study?" Hao replied, "I have long wanted to come, but I have no companions. Though there are beautiful sights, it's hard for me to find company." They headed east towards the city, seeing verdant willows and pink peach blossoms along the way. Men and women enjoying spring outings filled every corner. As they walked, Jingtian pointed to a place saying, "This is Chinui water. Past this bridge lies a famous house of sisters." He asked Jingtian, "What's this place?" Hu studied it carefully, noticing smoke-stained windows, glimpses of red peaches through fence holes, 2 black doors with a branch of dew-kissed willows tied to them. "Why is it so interesting?" "The high door belongs to Jingli House." Jingtian said, "This alley used to be an old courtyard. The most beautiful women live here." Upon hearing Jingli, Hu recalled Langyu's words and asked, "Is Xiangjun in there?" Jingtian replied, "They're mother and son, not inside." "Where would they be?" "Oh," pulled on Jingtian urgently, "please knock. Jingniang and Xiangjun are both away." "Who is it?" "Both Jingniang and Xiangjun aren't home," came the answer from within. He sat on a stone bench in front of the door, unmoving. Hearing this, Hao's heart was truly worried. He thought to himself, since they're not there, he must be out walking somewhere. "I'll wait here." Jingtian urged him in every way, but saw Hu as dazed and drunk. At this moment, someone called his name. Looking up, he saw Yang Longyao and Su Kunshang walking side by side towards them. Hearing about Xiangjun, the master wanted to visit her. They bowed while greeting. "Ha, brother, we heard you were with Master Jingtian. We came to your residence. Hope to see you." Me. Yang and Su said, "Brother Hao, today is Qingming festival. All the sisters in his courtyard have gone to attend a box meeting." "How can he stay at home?" Chiaozong asked. "Which house are they attending the meeting at?" "Ew. Brother Hu, why not take advantage of this fine day and go downstairs to enjoy it?" Kunshang replied, "Today is Lady Xianyu's hosting of the gathering at Warm Pavilion." Longyao added, "We too came here for Brother Hao's happy event." "Warm Pavilion is not far from here. Let's all go together." That way, Brother Hao can relax." Hearing this, Cao Zong hurriedly stood up and bowed to them, saying, "I hope you will bring a few things with you. I'll be sure to reciprocate." The four of them went to Warm Pavilion, laughing and chatting along the way. Liu Jingting said, "Brother Hao, we have arrived at Warm Pavilion. Please sit down and wait for the right moment." "Morai." Cao Zong asked, "Is Lady Xiongju there?" Longyao pointed up to the roof and said, "That girl sitting on the roof is not Lady Xiongju. Oh, she was a sight that could make geese envy, with looks that could shame flowers." Cao Zong looked up and saw her delicate face. She was no more than 15 or 16 years old. He felt his soul fly off into the heavens, his eyes fixed on the rooftop. Just as he was caught up in this sentiment, he heard someone from above say, "Lady Xiongju, please play your flute once." But he only heard a clear flute sound, like a phoenix crying among clouds. Cao Zong couldn't help but be moved. He took off his fan and threw it towards the rooftop, not realizing that it landed in Lady Xiongju's lap. She blushed with embarrassment, smiling softly. Zhenli immediately wrapped a silk handkerchief embroidered with cherries around her sweatband and threw it down. If it was Lady Xiongju, how delightful. Everyone picked it up and put it into a plate. Cao Zong said, "This item, I wonder who dropped it." "Nuos," Longyao said, "Judging from this handkerchief, that's likely hers." "Dami." "Masse Dami," Jingting said. "Since that's the case, let's not touch it. First, let Brother Hao taste one of these cherries." "Miss." As everyone laughed, suddenly someone appeared holding a teapot and another with a vase standing in front of him. Truly, fragrant herbs follow butterflies dancing, beautiful women descending from Phoenix Terrace. Meh. Tao. Just as Cao Zong was gazing up, Longyao grabbed him by the arm and said, "This is Zhenli. This is Lady Xiongju." Cao Zong saw her. His body went weak. He quickly bowed, saying, "I am honored to meet such a fairy." "Sir, look carefully," Kunsheng pointed out. "This is Zhenli. This is Lady Xiongju." Hao said, "Longing for you for so long. Meeting you is a dream come true." He then turns to Longyao and said, "Your brother's praise was not off base." Zhenli said, "Tiger Hill new tea, served just for you." Lady Xiongju said, "Green willows and red peaches, adding spring's colors." Cao Zong looked into Lady Xiongju's lap and saw a fan she had been wearing. He composed a couplet. "Southern lady's adornment, don't let it stay in your sleeve. You follow the fan shadow, swaying with fragrance." "Ah." Longyao admired this poem. "This is a graceful and refined piece." "Oh." He then asked Cao Zong, "As for what you said yesterday about combing your hair, will you do it?" Cao Zong replied, "How could I refuse? Since I passed the imperial examination, of course." "No." Hearing this, Lady Xiongju blushed and went upstairs. Zhenli came forward and said, "Thanks to Master Yang's kind words, Sir won't turn away. Let us choose a lucky date then." Cao Zong replied, "The 15th of March, a flower-filled moonlit night would be perfect." "No." But he worried about his meager finances, afraid to offer a proper gift. Longyao, the interface, said, "Brother say don't worry. I have prepared makeup and a feast to mark this auspicious occasion. Hope you will accept it." Zhang Chen, hearing this, bowed deeply in gratitude. "Thank you, Yang brother, for your expense. I shall repay you another day." Sen's daughter, seeing her daughter's affair successful, bid farewell to everyone and left the room. Zhang and the four others also returned by their old routes, but only Zhang left with a joyful heart. There is a poem that attests. Listening to the breakdown, I mistakenly ended up on Wuzhen Peak. With some cloud formations, I felt in a hurry, forgetting the celestial beauty. Spring moonlight, a false promise. Kindred hearts meet, difficult to refuse, preparing to travel to Gaotang. Furthermore, Yang Longyu accompanied Zhang Chen and set a date for Shouguang lady's makeup. The next morning, upon waking, he went straight to where Ruan Daomai was. As they were old acquaintances, he entered his courtyard without announcing his arrival. Now, defeated, all I have left is this desolate forest with owls and crows everywhere, people spitting and attacking me from every corner. Without uttering a word, he only heard Ruan Daomai from inside say, "I, Yuan Hai, am also a literary genius and a scholar with achievements, but due to one misstep I ended up in the house of Kui Wei, thus becoming part of their lineage. Yesterday was Qingming, and I endured 5 scholar officials beating me." The day before, while borrowing a play, 3 princes insulted me, without any way to defend myself. Fortunately, my brother in alliance Yang Longyu devised a plan, asking me to prepare Shoguang lady's makeup set so that he could intercede for me, which makes perfect sense. I've been neglecting you these past days. Hearing this, Longyu outside spoke loudly. Ruan brother, do you miss me? Ruan Yuanhai, upon hearing Longyu's voice, rushed out and greeted him with a handshake. Not even seated, he asked, "What about Hao's nephew? How is it going?" Longyu replied, "I was just coming to discuss this matter. The date for Shoguang lady has been set on March 15th. Do you have all the preparations ready?" Hearing this, Ruan Yuanhai smiled and said, "My younger brother already prepared 300 gold coins. Please help me take care of these matters. If successful, I will repay you." Longyu replied, "No need for that. It's my pleasure to do so." Yuanhai went inside and took out 200 silver coins, which he handed to Longyu as he left the courtyard. Meanwhile, Shoguang lady, having met Zhang Chen on a warm green floor that day, secretly admired his elegant talents. She refused to descend or see anyone else until her wedding on the 15th. By the time the auspicious day arrived, Sen was up early, having people roll the curtains, sweep the floor, and set up tables. Suddenly, Longyu came in and said, "Today is a special day for House Lady Love. Last night, Hao brother asked me to prepare boxes and other items, which I have now fully arranged. Have them brought into the bridal chamber so she can be dressed up with new makeup. There are also 32 silver coins given to the kitchen for an abundant feast." Sen, seeing that every box, dress, and table setting was ready, plus the silver for the feast, was overjoyed. Just as they were talking, a commotion started. She called Shoguang lady to express her gratitude, and Longyu replied, "It's my pleasure to help." They all looked up to see Zhang Chen dressed in formal attire with peony flowers in his hair, entering the courtyard. Everyone in the room admired him deeply. It is truly, even if he's not a scholar from the celestial realm, he's surely a man from the moon. This Zhang Chen dismounted, and Sen, along with all other guests, greeted him warmly at the guest house. Yang Longyu saw this and bowed to Zhang Chen, saying, "Congratulations on your acquisition of such a lovely bride. I have nothing but reverence to offer, having prepared makeup sets and feasts roughly for one night's entertainment." Zhang Shi said, "It is an honor to be asked to help, but how can I do so?" Sen's mother-in-law responded, "Please have the new couple sit and offer them tea." She replied, "All thanks to you, everything is in place." After they finished drinking, Longyu asked, "Mother-in-law, are all preparations for the celebration ready?" Longyu stood up, bowed to Zhang Shi, and said, "This auspicious gathering brings me humble joy. I must bid you farewell now, but will return tomorrow to offer my congratulations." He left after these words. Sen's guests, whom she had invited, made their obeisance and expressed good wishes. She then requested that Hu the groom change into a formal outfit, while the female guests helped the bride out of her room. Everyone rejoiced as the two new couples met face to Façon, the renowned scholar, and the other, the respected lady of the household. Both felt envious glances from the others, each cherishing the other deeply. The pigeons announced, "Since there are no rules against wedding ceremonies in this courtyard, let's simply enjoy the joyous feast." They drank, sang, and played music, creating a delightful atmosphere. So Zhang Shi and the bride sat side by side, while Din Ji, Zhang Yangchu, and 3 others sat on the left, and Vermi Jing, Zheng Tudang, and others sat on the right. Unbeknownst to them, the sun began to set, with crows perching in the trees and everyone exclaiming, "It's growing late, let's send the newlyweds to their bedroom." Everyone agreed. Dingy said, "Don't hurry. Our gentleman official is a poet, and he has just groomed an exquisite beauty. With wine and companionship, how can there be no poetry?" They planned to prepare new flower-shaped writing papers and sharpen their ink sticks while awaiting his poetic masterpiece. A narrow path between 2 red doors, a prince riding in a rich chariot. He opened his fan, didn't hesitate, and swiftly wrote a 7-word couplet. Poe offered, "I don't need any special paper. I'll simply inscribe a poem on my fan, which will forever symbolize our alliance. At the end of the tranquil stream, only magnolias stand, unrivaled by the peach blossoms of the east wind." Someone announced, "Master Yang has sent a poem." Everyone witnessed Hao's remarkable speed and admired his work. Hu read it aloud. "Born in Yanqing, I am Li Xiang, carried in my arms like a delicate flower." Everyone praised the work. They played music again and encouraged the newlyweds to drink. Why did 12 Witch Peak's daughters come to me in dreams, only to meet King Chu? He declared. This old romantic has sent a poem that is simply exquisite. Hu and the bride shared a cup, drinking with great joy. The second gong sounded at the feast, and everyone said, "The night is upon us. Let's clean up and send them off to their bedroom." A servant held a lantern as Hao and the bride walked hand in hand into their chamber. He couldn't control himself and gently lifted her onto the bed. Hu noticed that his wife seemed slightly intoxicated, her cheeks flushed with pink, more beautiful than when they first met under the moonlit sky. Their love was beyond words. It could not be expressed by clouds or rain. Their future together remained unknown, but more stories would follow. They felt as if Liu Lang has entered the peach blossom forest, the morning dew still on the petals of a rose. Third episode, unveiling the mystery behind the betrothal request and the heroine's concealment. The maiden, upon hearing of old Master Yang, hurriedly emerged to greet him and said, "I am deeply grateful, sir, for facilitating this match, but I am deeply grateful, sir. Dare not trouble you further with early felicitations." Long Yu inquired, "Have the couple risen yet?" The maiden replied, "They slept late last night and have not awoken yet." She then turned and looked inside, only to see them there, intertwined like clovers, perfumed and dressed, but not completely. She returned and invited old Master Yang to join them in the bridal chamber for a drink. "Offend me not." Long Yu and the maiden greeted Hu Sheng, playfully saying, "Startling such sweet dreams. Your makeup last night was clumsy, yet it held true." Hu Sheng thanked them and said, "It is indeed exquisite. How could I possibly hold her?" But as for Xiang Jun, though small, she should be kept in a gilded chamber. Everyone laughed. Hu Sheng replied, "I'm not sure how to answer that. Keep it well." Long Yu asked, "Since fate has brought you together, surely there's something special in store?" He then had Xiang Jun pass him her fan, which Long Yu admired and praised, saying, "Her grace is truly captivating, and this fan adds to her allure. She looks even more enchanting." Hu Sheng noted, "Xiang Jun's beauty is enhanced by the jewels and brocades she wears today." The maiden interjected, "This is all thanks to old Master Yang's generosity." This comment planted a seed of doubt in Hu Sheng's mind. He bowed to Long Yu and said, "I must admit my hesitation. I feel guilty towards you, and I beg for your enlightenment so that I may repay you. As a guest, I am constrained, and I question why old Master Yang would lightly spend on such a place." Xiang Jun also spoke up, "Lord Hao's words are valid. I am indebted to old Master Yang for his kindness yesterday, but it left me feeling uneasy. The banquet and makeup were all arranged by Huining." Long Yu explained, "Since you asked, let me tell the truth." Hu Sheng confirmed, "Isn't it Yuan Hai?" Long Yu nodded, "Indeed, him. Why has he shown such sudden affection today? It's incomprehensible." Hu Sheng was shocked and exclaimed, "This guy in round C is my old friend, but I've long disdained his character." Long Yu continued, "Round Old had a story to tell. He once visited Zhao Meng's door, which was our gathering place. Recently, the scholars from the society have been viciously attacking him. Later, he aligned with Wei Party in the hope of saving Donglin, but after their defeat, Donglin flourished again under fire. It seems they are waging war within our circle. Round Old has many friends, but due to his suspicious behavior, no one has come forward to defend him. Only Lord Hu of Henan can save me. He weeps day and night, saying, 'The same kind kill each other.' It's heartbreaking. So, he welcomes your company today. This aligns with the saying, 'To know a gentleman's face, offer him wealth and kindness.'" In that moment, without careful thought, he had a solution. Upon hearing this, Hao Sheng woke up from his dream, realizing the truth behind the makeup. Even if it was Wei Party, upon repentance they cannot be completely rejected, especially when there's room for forgiveness. He added, "Ding and Ji are my closest companions. Tomorrow we'll resolve this." Long Yu expressed his gratitude, saying, "This is a blessing for our party." However, Xiang Jun overheard Hao Sheng's words and angrily declared, "What does Lord Hu mean? Nguyenai has abandoned all shame." Women and girls did not hold back their insults. Others attacked him. The official saved him. I don't know where the official is placed. The official's intention was only because he helped me adorn my dress. He wanted to act partial and disregard public duty. These few fans and clothes could never reach Lord Xiang's eyes. After saying this, she removed her pearl ornaments from her head, took off her clothes, and threw them down carelessly as she walked towards the bedroom. "Lord Xiang is too stubborn. Dragon friend, seeing such a scene, also found it uninteresting, grinning with anger. Ha! Hu Sheng said. Indeed, indeed. This kind of wit is true courage in women. I am no match for him. I'm not even half as brave as he is. Don't be surprised, brother. I would never learn from a woman. Those society friends, who usually bow down to Lord Hao, only do so for this point of honor. If I cling to a corrupt official, when they all come to attack me, I won't even have time to save myself. How could I save others? Since that's the case, I'll excuse myself. Dragon friend, seeing the matter not going as planned, felt displeased and tried to explain. Old master's good intention cannot be too harsh. He bowed slightly and wanted to leave. Hu Sheng deeply bowed and said, Brother, don't be angry. These boxes and clothes are ignoring families. Lord Xiang doesn't need them. Keeping them is of no use. Please take them away. Dragon friend left with a face filled with shame. Just then, love turned to coldness by someone unloving. A visit that began in joy ended in sorrow. To know the truth, wait for the next story. Hu Zong, facing young dragon friend once more, felt weary in his heart, thinking about watching the scenery to relieve his worries. 4th chapter. The society friends celebrate Duanwu on the deck. The official refuses Yang dragon friend face-to-face again. Meanwhile, Lord Xiang had discarded her makeup and adornments. They said, Brother Tile, today is the festival of Duanwu. Just as it was the festive Duanwu Double Fifth Festival of May, a tradition in Nanjing, where whether gentlemen or merchants all boarded boats to enjoy, sing, and play musical instruments. You and I are feeling depressed at our homes. Why not go to Qinhui, a river in Nanjing, to celebrate? It will lift our spirits. Tile said, I've been wanting to do that, hoping to visit you first, but I'm glad you came first. It's perfect. The two walked hand in hand as they left. Upon reaching Qinhui, Hu Sheng asked, This festival is so wonderful. Why don't we see any of our fellow society members here? Tale said, I think they're all at the lamp boat meeting. While talking, they noticed a house by the river with hanging lights and curtains, very elegant. Tale looked closer and realized it was Ding Jizi's water pavilion. The two climbed up, called out, Is Mr. Ding at home? He told Hu Sheng, This is Ding Jizi's water pavilion. We can climb up to watch. My master has gone to the lamp boat meeting, but he prepared a feast at home. Feel free to stay if you're guests. A boy came out, recognized them both, and said, The two gentlemen of Chen and Wu, please have a seat. It's good that our host is being so welcoming. Hearing the boy's words, both men agreed. How interesting. They sat down without any hesitation. Hu Sheng said, Today we have this pleasant gathering. Let's be careful not to let common people disrupt it. The two men sat down to drink. He ordered the boy to bring a lantern and wrote 8 characters on it. Restore social order. Common people keep out, and hung it in front of the water pavilion. Just as they were enjoying their drinks, they heard the sound of drums and flutes. They realized it was the lamp boat approaching. They leaned on the railing, looking far away, and saw a lamp boat coming towards them with a female singer inside and 3 men playing musical instruments. Hu Sheng carefully looked again, and recognized it was society friend Hao Song. Tale said, That's him. He should be invited in. Shouldn't we invite her as well? Jing said, The female guest must be Xiang Jun. Jui said, Xiang Jun does not bow to Nguyen's makeup. She is in fact a friend of the Revival Society. There's no harm in inviting her up. Jing said, Given this, Liu Jingting and Su Kunsheng refuse to be guests of the Nguyen clan. They are also friends of the Revival Society. Inviting them up to the floor would be even more interesting. So he called out loudly, Ah, Shuxia, come here. Zong awoke at the call, looked towards the water garden, and saw Chen and Wu, both friends from the society, so he bowed upstairs, saying, Welcome to. Jing said, This is the water garden of Ding Jizi. There is a feast now. How Shuxia can join Xianghun, Liu, and Kunsheng upstairs to enjoy it. Zong and his party happily disembarked, playing their instruments as they climbed upstairs, with words to accompany them. Dragon boats side by side, brushstrokes divide, lotus flowers spread golden glow on the jar. High rooms locked tight, purple barriers even, flute and drums enter cloud-filled layer. One upon reaching the water garden, Song noticed the lantern read Revival Society literature. He said, I'm glad I arrived today for literature. Liu replied, That's a pity. We might intrude. Jui said, You won't be guests of the Nguyen clan, so we're not out of place here. Jing proposed to call her a society sister-in-law from then on. Zhang wondered if Xiangjun would also be excluded, but Shui clarified, Xiangjun may have her own reasons, but friends from the Revival Society are still one short. Everyone applauded and laughter rang out, calling for a servant to pour wine. 6 of them sat down, drinking and enjoying the festival. Just as they were about to drink again, someone announced, "The lanterns are here." They paused, leaning against the railing to watch the various boats decorate with different colored lights, racing across the river. Some drank, some played instruments, others composed poetry. It was golden waves ripple, competing on silver waters, comings and goings confused the way. After a while, they noticed the lanterns were almost gone, so each returned to their seats, drinking again. Liu and Wu expressed that they didn't want to trouble anyone. Meanwhile, Liu and Su demonstrated their skills, playing enchanting melodies. Xiangjun opened her throat, her singing powerful enough to block the clouds. Jing, Zhui, and Zhang drank freely. As they were getting drunk, another announcement came. "The lanterns are here again." They looked on, seeing a boat unlike others, with unique music and singing. A figure stood at the bow, looking towards the water garden as he slowly approached. Liu remarked, "Look at that old man on board. We should take our time to appreciate him." The figure on the boat glanced up at the water garden and said, "Ding River House, why are there lanterns here so late? Bring the others, check who's in here. No entry for bums." The small boat landed, and upon inquiry, a servant reported, "The lantern says, Revival Society Literature." That person on the bow heard the words Revival Society and immediately stopped playing. He put out the lights, quietly steering his boat away. Everyone was puzzled by the 3 impressive lanterns. Why did they suddenly turn off their lights and songs? "Come quickly." Liu suggested not to go check. Even though his vision was blurry, he had already seen it clearly. That beard was Guiyan Daimyo. He bought a boat, loading music, but couldn't leave early for fear of being ridiculed, so he waited until nightfall before daring to set out. "I saw 3 lords here drinking, so I dared not approach, and thus subtly avoided them," said Kun. "I say, singing and playing the flute among all of you is different," said Ding. "It's bold of him to think he can mix in here," said next to last as he prepared to leave. "Catching his beard," said Zhang, blocking next to last's path. "Since he has evaded us, we don't need to pursue this excessive act, and besides, the ship has already left. Let go." Next to last, angry, stopped talking. Lord Xiang saw that it was getting late, so he told everyone, "The night is deep, let's disperse." Jing said, "Lord Xiang, your sister misses her mother. Let's see her home." Chen and Wu also returned to their homes. So they left Ding, next to last, and Xiang, with Kun, Zhang, and Xiang's lady. Uncertain of future events, listened for further news. It was, "All tourists leave the towers. Small boats keep one spring family. Due to a misstep, he lost his position and was appointed to supplement grain in Wuhan." 5th chapter, Zongblocks, grain supply. Ding sends a letter to Jing. Meanwhile, Lord Haosong had an old friend named Zhu Liangyu, who was once under his father's command from Liaoning, serving as a military governor. He waged wars south and north, adding marquess titles and building up strong armies and horses, garrisoning in Xianjiang. He happened to meet Lord Ho's son Haozong at the military gate, and thanks to Haozong's support, he quickly rose to become a battlefield general, and within a year he was appointed general-in-chief. Only due to Li Zicheng's disturbances did the court find itself under threat, with armies lacking grain and strategies depleted. Additionally, seeing his troops hungry, each yearning for a change, Zhang decided on taking grain from Nanjing, withdrawing from Hankow. All he could do was comfort his soldiers day and night, temporarily easing their worries. But he feared that without explicit orders from the emperor, his actions could be suspicious, so he hesitated to act quickly. Although he hadn't yet left for Nanjing, news of his plan had already spread throughout the city. Officialdom, hearing this, were all filled with fear. Knowing Yang Longyu had an old connection with Zhang, he sent Longyu to find Zhang and ask him to compose the letter. One person, Sima Bearing Bright, heard about Liangju from a longtime friend, knowing that Hu Song was currently staying in Nanjing, and wanted to ask him to write a letter urging them off. Reaching the door, Longyu dismounted and went straight in. Longyu, on Bearing Bright's orders, came to seek out Zhang, eventually finding him at Jing's home, where he was enjoying a casual conversation. "Now is not the time for this," said Zhang, sitting beside his father, listening attentively. Longyu, after understanding the situation, spoke up. "Why are you here so alarmed?" Longyu explained. "You don't know? The city is in chaos. Lianju has led his troops to seize Nanjing, and even plans on targeting Beijing. Even Baron Bright himself is at a loss, knowing that I am a close friend of your brother. He sent me here to ask for your help." "Well, what do you think, elder brother?" Zhang replied. "Such a good deed, how could I refuse? Hearing that your grandfather, the esteemed teacher of the Southern Lord, could write an urgent letter, we believe it could turn things around. But my father has retired from politics at Lincoln Lake, and even if he were to write the letter, its effectiveness is uncertain. How would it help us now? Plus, traveling over 200 or 300 miles, Long Yu said, my brother is known for his bravery. In this national crisis, how could he remain idle? It's immediate aid. Why don't you compose a letter instead? We can ask Baron Bright later without fear of blame." Zhang thought for a moment and said with delight, "This emergency measure seems reasonable. Let me discuss it with my family." Long Yu urged him, saying, "The situation doesn't allow for delay. Even if we send the letter right now, it might arrive too late. What's the point of further discussion?" Long Yu replied, "There's no need for corrections. I'll inform him myself." Zhang awoke and instructed Jing to find a flower epistle, immediately drafting a response and handing it to Long Yu, stating, "Have Sima Bear revise his submission once more. But the letter must be delivered by someone trustworthy." "Meiwo," Zhang insisted. "The messenger is crucial. Where can we find such a person? Let me take care of the delivery." As they pondered how to deliver the letter, Jing suddenly stood up and addressed them loudly. "Sir Yang and Lord Hao, you two need not struggle. I'll be back soon with the payment, and we must leave this very night." Jing carefully wrapped Zhang's letter, carried his luggage, and traveled day and night, weathering the wind and rain along the riverbank. The three bowed and parted, singing a verse about the brave Ima, a letter for temporary use. With Liu Dong's help, it turns its course, retreating those who dare not advance, 1,000 horses' mourning bell safeguarding this good city. He changed his attire and made his way to the gate without haste. After a few days on the road, he spotted Wuhan in the distance, exclaiming, "We've reached the outskirts of Wuhan. Let me put down my bags, open the package, change into dry clothes, and then head to the gate for delivery." Upon meeting the guard, he bowed respectfully and said, "General, please convey this to the marshal. I have a letter from someone in Henan claiming to deliver it." The guard questioned, "Why send a letter now? Are you a deserter or a thief?" Jing replied, "If I were a deserter, why would I seek out the gate myself? Or, if I'm a spy, I wouldn't dare appear so openly. I have a sealed letter here that needs to be delivered in person." The guard saw the letter and couldn't conceal it, immediately sounding the drum to alert the marshal. "Why are you coming so late?" Lianju was summoned and asked, "What's the nature of this report?" The guard reported, "No urgent matters. There's merely a lone messenger claiming to deliver a letter." Lianju ordered the gate opened, telling his men to be on high alert, expecting potential thieves. He instructed them to make the stranger kneel upon entering. Jing saw the grand gates wide open with guards wielding spears and arrows, and heard the guard proclaim, "The messenger enters on his knees." Jing strode in calmly, unafraid. He reached the threshold of the main hall and bowed, respectfully. "I'm a humble citizen." Lianju roared, "Who are you?" "So audacious," Jing explained. "I am but a commoner. I hold a sealed letter here, which I've come to deliver personally." Lianju inquired, "Whose letter is this?" Jing answered, "It's from Lord Hao in Guodahinen." Lianju said, "Lord Hao is my mentor. Who are you? How are you related to him? Where's the letter?" Jing presented the letter. Lianju took it and read it carefully, then ordered the doors closed and invited Jing to the back hall. He asked Jing, "What's your name and background?" He opened the letter and said, "The wording here is unclear. It seems to be encouraging me to guard the borderlands and not move troops into the interior." "What ties do you have to Lord Hao?" "Nile." Immediately, he presented a cup of tea to Theet, holding it in his hand. Liang Yu said to the Theo, "You know this Wuhan city well. Since Yang Shanzhong's raid, 10 out of every 12 houses are empty. Although I am stationed here, we lack grass and grain, with daily noise from the troops that even I cannot control." Upon hearing this, spoke angrily, "Your Excellency speaks of what? Since ancient times, soldiers follow their commanders. There is no instance where a commander follows his soldiers." He then threw the teacup to the ground. Liang Yu exclaimed in anger, "This is unreasonable. Throwing a teacup to the ground," laughed and said, "How could I be so rude? It was just a moment of enthusiasm. I grabbed it and threw it." Liang Yu retorted, "Just grabbing and throwing. I didn't even ask for anything. Is your heart not in control? So, replied, if my heart is in control, then why would my men be disorderly? Liang Yu, with a clear mind, said, the reason I ask is because the troops are so hungry. He then added, I forgot. Have someone quickly bring the food. Rubbed his stomach and said, I'm starving. Liang Yu saw this and urged, you dare enter my private chambers? Oh. Liang Yu exclaimed, if you are so hungry, why do you want to enter my private chamber? Laughed and said, Your Excellency also knows I am starving. Is it not acceptable to enter your chambers? Liang Yu laughed and said, You mock my weaknesses. A skilled debater like you cannot be lacking in my service. I occasionally read some historical tales and improvise. He then asked, You interact with scholars. Surely you have some unique skills. Would you teach me? Replied. I was uneducated from a young age. I was fortunate enough to receive praise from Wu Qiaofan Dasima and Tongcheng He Guosugu, which led to my interaction with scholars. It is a source of shame. Liang Yu, delighted, said, I had no idea that Jingting has such skills. Keep him in my office and he will learn more. This was followed by, a skilled debater with a smooth tongue dares to silence strong hearts and bold ambitions. The outcome remains to be seen. More on this in the next episode. 6th episode. And further, let's say, Jingting held the letter to Wuhan and met Liang Yu with distant mockery and close reproach. His words moved Liang Yu, pausing most of his discussions about food. Both Nanjing's military and civil officials were still suspicious and uncertain. He then reported to the court, promoting him in office, bestowing privileges on his descendants, and informing all governors and military leaders in the city and provinces gathered at the Qingyi Hall for joint discussion. The purpose was not only to ensure the safety of the letter, but also to use this as a ploy to pacify Liang Yu's heart. Thus, discussions were planned with various officials, from those who had been dismissed or were idle, each receiving a notice. Yang Wenchang and Ruan Daming were also included in these notices, so they arrived early at the Qingyi Hall, waiting for the meeting. There are whispers of walls within his camp where outsiders are luring his troops. However, Ruan Daming harbored resentment and suspicion. As soon as he saw Dragon Friend, he said, Brother, do you know that Liang Yu is requesting food supplies? I am afraid that when his soldiers arrive they might even open the city gates and let them in. Dragon Friend said, This information may not be reliable. Moreover, both you and I are retired officials. We shouldn't speak carelessly. Ruan Daming persisted, I have sources. Why would I keep such a crucial piece of information hidden? The two were still discussing when Huayin history Kanfa and Fenjiang Governor Ma Shenglai arrived. Dragon Friend and Ruan Daming, along with all the officials, greeted them and paid their respects. After seating, Kanfa asked, Why is Master Zhang not here? Shangban reported, There is a command today to deploy troops on the river. Ma Shang asked, With this, the meeting cannot proceed. If left troops arrive, what then? Yang Longyao bowed and said, Master, need not worry deeply. Left Liang Ju is an old soldier of Hushudo. He has already received a letter asking him to stop, and it is unlikely he will refuse. Nguyen Dakye then spoke disparagingly. I do not know about this. Shi Kefa added, I have also heard that this action, though it was Sima Bear's intention, was in fact the merit of my elder brother. I only hear that left troops' arrival may be due to Hao Fangyi's manipulation. He is close with left Lianju, and they frequently exchange private letters. If we don't act soon, he will surely become an internal traitor, causing great trouble. Ma Shang agreed. That makes sense. Why mourn over one person when it could lead to the fall of an entire city? Shi Kefa reacted with displeasure, saying, This is unnecessary. Hou Fangyu is indeed my elder brother, and he has a good reputation in the Restoration Society. He would never do such a thing. Besides, Nguyen Old Master is retired. He shouldn't interfere in state affairs or slander others to harm justice. I bid you all farewell. He left angrily. So saying, he stood up and bowed to everyone. It seems today's discussion cannot continue. Nguyen Dakye saw Shikefa's departure and expressed his regret. How could she minister just leave like that? Longyao interjected. This should be considered settled then. My words were clear. I even heard that he sent a private letter through Liu Matsi the other day. I personally asked Jingting to go, and I was present when he wrote the letter. Why would he suspect him? We must take action against him. Ma Shang, agreeing with Dakye, said, Indeed, people like this use many tricks and schemes. Dakye smiled and said, Yang brother doesn't know. There were coded words and secret signals in the letter, something an outsider wouldn't understand. I will have someone investigate. He turned to Yang Longyao. Uncle, let's go together. Longyao replied, please lead the way. I'll follow. Ma Xiang and Guiyan Dakie, sharing a common hatred, left together. Meanwhile, Yang Longyao thought, how could he fabricate such accusations? I must warn him. He should leave immediately. Hu was never deeply involved, but even if he did write the letter, why add slanderous words about internal treason? He went straight to Li's private yard and knocked on the door. When someone opened, he heard music playing inside and found the atmosphere lively. He rushed in and knocked again. The person inside recognized his urgency and opened the door. In today's meeting at Qingyuan, Nguyenhai accused you of having an old connection with Left Tiao and exchanging secret letters, implying internal treason. Hao Kaozong, shocked, exclaimed, What? Yang Longyao saw Hu Kaozong, Huo Quan, and their respective consorts downstairs together. They greeted him with smiles, asking, Yang brother, happy to see you here for a late-night chat? Longyao took a deep breath and said, Brother, there is urgent news. Why would he do this? Longyao continued. I came to warn you. They all want to take you in for questioning. Please leave immediately. Dragon Friend said, I suppose it's because the matter was handled too harshly that the old man turned from shame to anger. Chen Li, having heard this account, urged Hu Sheng, saying, the affair cannot be delayed. Depart early and fly far away, sparing no one else. Hu Sheng replied, given where we are now, all I can do is retreat, but I'm still newly married. How could I leave? No. Xiang Jun sternly said, you have always considered yourself a man of valor, so why this childish behavior? Hu Sheng agreed. Yes, but I don't know where to go. Dragon Friend suggested, don't be in a hurry. I have a plan. During the meeting, there was a governor named Kei Fa, and his uncle, Ma Shiyu, was also present. Their words did not get along well, but Kei Fa managed to reconcile them. Hu Sheng, upon hearing this, asked, which Kei Fa is it? Moreover, we have an old friendship with your family, so why don't you follow him to Hawaii and wait for news from home? After a moment's thought, he said, Kedao Lin is my father's student. Wonderful. Thank you for the guidance. But I don't know where Kei Fa's residence is. Xiang Jun, quickly pack your belongings. I'll leave immediately and find shelter there. I will accompany you there. Kun Shang Kun Sin said, I hear that he's staying at Shi Wen Garden in the city while on official business. As they spoke, Xiang Jun had already packed his bags, had them carried by others, and was ready to leave with Hu Sheng. He couldn't bear to part temporarily. He lingered a moment, looking back with affection, and said, until we meet again, this temporary separation will not be for long. Xiang Jun, wiping away tears, said, with so much dust in the air, it's unlikely we'll meet again. I only hope my husband has a safe journey. How fortunate. As they left, everyone cried while saying their goodbyes. Uncertain of the path to the imperial court, we await further news in the next chapter. It was as if love still burning at its height suddenly blown away by the west wind. 7th chapter. Stalling the plan to welcome and install Kei Fa, the successive Marquis Ma Nguyen. Note. The text provided is already in English, so no translation was performed. Historian Gu looked it over and frowned, saying, This Ma Yu again speaks of succession. I think the book's true meaning advocates for King Fu. If so, even if he doesn't follow them, they would still go ahead. It also clearly states that the emperor is dead by strangulation, and the prince has fled without a trace. Moreover, King Fu's lineage is not vastly different from others. Today we should reply to him. King Fu divided the territory and scattered his subjects. I am most aware of this, and he cannot be made king. Zong Prince Chen, upon hearing King Fu's words, shouted loudly, saying, Sir, you are mistaken. He has 3 major faults that everyone knows. Has Sir not heard them? Wait until I lay out each one for him, and ask Sir to consider. King Fu, after all, is Godong's proud son. Queen Zheng, his mother, was immoral, harming the prince, attempting to establish herself as independent. She schemes to seize power, a major fault. He did not contribute a single copper coin for supplies, leading to national ruin and family breakdown. Additionally, she was extravagant by nature, stealing almost everything from the palace when dividing territory, leaving nothing for the people even when facing an invasion in Henan. Treating wealth as a priority led to state affairs being neglected. 2 major faults. His father died at the hands of bandits. Left unburied, yet he still fled afar, profiting from this chaos by taking commoners' wives and daughters. Forgetting his father, consumed by lust, a third major fault. He continued, with these 3 faults, how can he restore royal glory? Moreover, there are the 5 impossibilities. First, reports about the emperor's survival differ. The saying there cannot be 2 days for heaven or 2 rulers for people holds true. Second, if the emperor is truly dead, with the prince overseeing the nation, why abandon him to search for another branch of the family? Fourth, fear that strong provinces will hear about this and attempt their own establishment. Wouldn't this lead to mutual attack? Third, a legitimate leader originally does not follow a strict order of succession. Visiting and establishing heroes can help restore the state. This is just, indeed. Fifth, minions who seize power through flattery cause no small trouble. Gu listened to these words, enlightened, saying, Indeed, your honor has profound insight. He then asked Gu to write a letter expressing the 3 major faults and 5 impossibilities. I saw Deputy Ambassador Lai, Stru, and Ministry of Rights Zhou Zhan hold similar views previously. Just as they said, only wicked traitors seek fame and wealth. A single person dares speak the truth. Miao, Chu, Chi. Chen followed his order, with someone bringing light and ink, folding the letter in front of Gu, sealing it, using proper stationery, dispatching it to the outer court, sending off the messenger. And so, after Jiu replied to Ma, Yor, he no longer mentioned succession. Gu knew he was from the Wei party and sternly refused him. However, Ruandakian, a close confidant of Ma Yor's, upon seeing Gu's letter, personally visited the gates to discuss succession with Gu. Ruan suggested to Ma Yor to write a letter outlining Gu's arguments and await the support of other officials and nobles, stating that if they agreed, it would be fine to proceed. Ma Yor's men in the 4 towns, being his own appointments, had no personal views. Upon seeing the invitation, they readily accepted and promised to meet in Jiangdo on the 28th of this month. Nguyen Da Cham promptly replied to Master Sir Ying. Sir Ying then asked, apart from Xia Huang and the 2 Lius, are there any other volunteers? Da Cham named several officials, Shu Hongji, Han Zihui, Li Gu, and Zhu Guocheng. Master Sir Ying rejoiced, saying, It seems we have a few capable individuals in the Military Affairs Bureau. How should I draft my letter of presentation? As for my position as an outsider, I cannot wait for these military nobles to be appointed ministers. Da Cham suggested, There's no need for formalities. Find a scholar and have him dictate it for you. Da Cham replied, In my opinion, who among the entire court has a clear vision? Sir Ying further asked, Even if we succeed, without officials to greet His Majesty upon his arrival, how shall we lead him into the court? As soon as His Majesty arrives, I fear I'll be overwhelmed with submitting my credentials. Master Sir Ying laughed and said, Mr. Nguyen's assessment is spot on. He instructed someone to get a scroll of scholars, listing all names meticulously, dressing neatly in his best attire, packing his belongings, and preparing for the emperor's arrival. Since Da Cham was formally dismissed, he could not wear official garb, so he temporarily acted as the letter presenter, carrying the scroll to greet His Majesty. Da Cham sought glory and didn't mind the humiliation of carrying a scroll, while Sir Ying refused marriage proposals. Meanwhile, in Jiangpu, news reached them that Beijing had fallen, the emperor ascended to heaven, and King Fu, having fled from Henan after his father's martyrdom, was already in his 4th year there. On the 1st day of the 5th month of the Jiaxin year, having completed their respects at the tomb, they celebrated in the imperial audience chamber. Unexpectedly, Beijing was lost, and the corrupt officials of Nanjing desired to claim credit for its capture, setting up King Fu as the regent without distinction between wise or foolish. King Fu listened to the petition and said, As a descendant of a weak dynasty, my personal qualities are lacking. A group of officials including Shikao, Sir Ying, Huang Digong, Liu Zeqing, and others paid their respects on the dais, while Minister Shang Quangduo submitted a petition. Your Majesty, we humbly request that you take up the reins of government, change the era name, and ease the people's hopes. How can I dare occupy the main position? I bow to the people's wishes, temporarily serving as regent, but my parents' unjust deaths weigh heavily on me. My subjects should not worry. Let us now establish him as the sole ruler, still using the era name Chongzhen, and continue governing as before. Long live His Majesty. The officials heard this and exclaimed in unison, Long live His Majesty. We shall adhere to your commands. They pleaded, Your Majesty's words reflect true benevolence and righteousness. The main position should not be vacant for too long. However, as for avenging our country and restoring justice, it may take time. The selection of ministers should be prompt. They submitted their petition, but King Fu read through it and said, I see that Sir Yang Ma has proposed to establish a government, taking the lead in this endeavor with his first place standing, and he will be promoted to cabinet minister and head of the Ministry of War. Huang Tuo and Zihui are to take charge of their ministries immediately, while Shikao will lead the army in Jiangbei. The Ministry of Personnel will also promote Shang Kuang Duo, Li Zihui, and Shikao as ministers, each heading their respective ministries. Other officials, both current and vacant, would have their ranks advanced 3 levels, with those welcomed back from the imperial court to be selected based on their merits. The emperor commanded me to lead the armies in the north and strive to serve him. The 4 military ministers, Huang Digong, Xingping Ber Gao Ji, Dongping Ber Liu Zexing, and Guangchang Ber Liu Liangsu, all advanced to the rank of marquis, each returning to their garrisons to thank the emperor. After everyone finished thanking the emperor, Shikafa turned to Huang Digong and the others and said, I hold the command over these troops, and I have always been ashamed for not being able to reclaim the Middle Kingdom. Today, we have made an agreement with the other marquises to gather in Yangzhou on the 5th day of the 5th month to discuss revenge. Each of us must exert ourselves without delay. I am leaving now to assume my post. What a delightful life. Ma Shang, seeing Shikafa depart and everyone dispersing, smiled and said, I did not expect to become a prime minister today. Where have you come from? Just as he was about to leave, he saw Nguyen Da Ming peeking from nearby, so he asked, Isn't that Yuan La? Nguyen bowed deeply and said, Congratulations, Lord, you have indeed been ennobled. Where are you off to now? Do not let Gao and Jiang seize all power. In the early days of establishing our nation, things are still undecided. Why don't you enter the cabinet and handle affairs there? Shang agreed, saying, Yuan La is absolutely right. How could they not be acknowledged? Nguyen whispered in Shang's ear, Master, you're welcome for the succession, and your small contribution have earned you this high position. Nguyen exclaimed in joy, Great! Shang replied, You didn't hear the imperial decree. All departments are filling positions now, so why not recommend Yuan La for a post? I will ask Master to promote me. Shang said, There's no need for further instructions. As a student just entering the cabinet, you won't be familiar with government affairs, so it would be good if you could help out. Nguyen immediately took Shang's knapsack and entered the cabinet. A 7-word verse was composed. In the eastern wing of the palace, a misty yellow dawn, newly appointed officials step into their posts with pride. Crossing the river together, they are all from the Dragon clan, each taking their place on the golden steps with knapsacks in hand. And so it was after Prince Fu ascended the throne that officials were appointed without regard to merit, and positions filled accordingly. Hence, Yang Wenchang became a master of ceremonies at the Ministry of Rituals. Nguyen Da Ming was also promoted at the Palace of Happiness, while other outstanding figures like Yi and Tian Yang also received appointments. All these individuals are associates of M.A. Shang, hence their swift promotions. Just then, as there was a vacancy in the office of Supervisor of Rice Transportation, they considered promoting Tian Yang. However, Tian had his eye on a wife, but found no suitable candidate. Do you know anyone? Tian replied, How could I not? Unbeknownst to him, Nguyen Da Ming secretly understood Tian's intentions and approached him, saying, Tian brother, now that you are promoted to Supervisor of Rice Transportation, your rank is top tier with several favored consorts. My home is only one maid, Jing, and no concubines. Recently, I had been hoping to find someone, but without success. Nguyen suggested, I hear that a courtesan named Xiang Jun at the Blue Pavilion is extremely beautiful, truly an unparalleled beauty. Dragon friend Yang can vouch for her. I will beg Dragon friend Yang tomorrow to arrange this. Why not ask him to intercede on your behalf? Upon hearing this, Tian was overjoyed and immediately thanked Nguyen, saying, Your advice is invaluable. You're right. They came especially to plead with Yang on behalf of Nguyen. Unbeknownst to them, Ding L. were tasked with copying Yuan Da Ming's, a significant document for inclusion in the official records, and had been selected to perform at court. He bid farewell to Nguyen and returned home, paying 300 silver to Yang Longyao as a bride price request for Xiang Jun. Yang, however, had made a business mistake at the time, being too polite to the new supervisor of rice transportation, so he sent his servants Ding Jiji and female servant Wen Yu Zhang to act as matchmakers. Immediately he informed Dragon Friend, who replied joyfully, Since they happen to be here, let them come in. Together with the long-serving staff, they entered and bowed to Yang Laogui, relaying their pleas. Dragon Friend said, "This is not difficult. I will compile a list of names tomorrow and send it to Guiying and Yuanai to have him exempt them." Everyone bowed their heads in gratitude upon hearing this. "I have another request, which I hope you will assist me with." Dragon Friend then said, "You may rise. I promised to help you. If the matter succeeds, I shall be most grateful." Ding Jizi and others asked, "What do you need us for, Lord?" Dragon Friend then recounted his plan to marry Xiang Jun through Tan Yang Cheng as a go-between. This matter may be difficult to accomplish. Upon hearing this news, everyone furrowed their brows, saying, "Since Lady Xiang was separated from Hu Sheng, she has not left her floor and never greets visitors or sends them off. Moreover, Laogui has a close relationship with her mother. Why don't you go personally and explain? It might not be refused." "How can I face her?" Dragon Friend responded, "I have served the dynasty in battles, but today, Xiang Jun's fan is being used for marriage arrangements. Please help me out, and when the matter is settled I shall show my gratitude." Ding Jizi and others dared not speak further, so they bid farewell to Dragon Friend and went to Li Zhengli's residence. Yan Yujing said, "We have nothing to do. We came to keep you company, and also to share some good news with you." Inside they found a desolate, empty floor, no sound of guqin or flute melody, no trace of elegant beauty, never welcoming guests or sending them off. Two people loudly called out, "Is Lady Zhengli at home?" Xiang Jun, upon hearing someone call her mother, looked down from the floor and said, "Auntie Yan and Mr. Ding have come. Please come up to greet them." Xiang Jun asked, "What good news, uncle?" Ding Jizi then relayed Dragon Friend's message about marrying Tan Yang Cheng. "I have already married Hu Sheng, and know that he is my lifelong companion." Xiang Jun, upon hearing this, filled her eyes with tears and said, "Mr. Ding, what are you saying? Even if he goes far away, this love poem fan would be worth more than 10,000 silver. Moreover, I am not blessed in life. I do not wish to become a servant of the elite. Please, Aunt Yan and Uncle, refuse him. Don't get the wrong idea. Bro, where's... He feels sorry for your hardship and is looking for a wealthy family for you to live in." Before she finished speaking, Zhang Chao's daughter and Kubai's two people came up the stairs and said, "Lady Xiang, this is Laogui's kind intention." Xiang Jun replied, "I do not seek wealth. Please don't mention marriage with me. I only know that Hu Sheng is my lifelong companion." She withdrew into her bedroom. Regardless of how rich he may be, it will never enter my eyes. Deeming the company uninteresting, they all left. "Please send him back right away and don't talk about such shameful things in front of me." 9th chapter. Unaware of what will happen next, let's wait for the next chapter to unfold. Just as they were leaving, they heard a single heart bound fast, gazing at her husband every day on the floor. Bloodstained fan on the carriage. A clever mother's plan for marriage. A scholar named Shi Ying learned that two guests had arrived, so he summoned them to meet him. Upon their entrance, they bowed and expressed their loyalty in numerous ways, beyond description. The two guests bowed respectfully and replied, "This is all thanks to your teacher's harmony." Shi Ying laughed and said, "The weather today is slightly cold, perfect for a light drink. But when we woke up this morning, the day had already passed noon, making the daylight short and the night long, a loss of 3 hours." Shi Ying then inquired about two others. "What about Lord Yu and Mr. Tian?" Mr. Tian sent his family to prepare for departure in the evening. A subordinate reported, "Lord Yu suffers from hemorrhoids, which forced him to decline the invitation early on." Shi Ying instructed, "In that case, have a feast prepared." Shi Ying sat at the head of the table while the two guests sat beside him. They drank and discussed career advancements and flattered each other during the meal. Shi Ying smiled at Langyu. "Your brother-in-law is certainly capable. Have the subordinate go and see who can take on this task. Have him summon them." Dai Ming, seizing the opportunity, expressed his desire to harm Xiang Jun in front of Shi Ying. "At this flower-filled gathering today, the garden is unnecessary, but these flowers do call for a mention of the gentle wind and waning moon. She can definitely sing it." Langyu replied, "Everyone else is ordinary, but Li Xianggun from the old yard has learned the Chuk Peony Pavilion." Shi Ying immediately ordered the subordinate to do so. Dai Ming inquired, "Wasn't it Lord Tian who wanted to marry a concubine for 300 gold pieces yesterday?" Langyu laughed and said, "How ridiculous. This silly girl wants to remain faithful to Hao Kaozong, refusing all suitors. I sent people to talk to her several times, but she refused to come down." Shi Ying, upon hearing this, became enraged. "What kind of servant is this? How audacious! I am furious," Dai Ming retorted aggressively. "Lord Tian is your relative. He would be ashamed. This matter is serious." The subordinate stepped forward and reported, "I went to the old yard to summon Xiang Jun, but she refused to come down, citing illness. Transport her directly to Lord Tian's ship." Shi Ying pondered for a moment and said, "Very well. Have some family servants take 300 silver coins, clothes, and a palanquin." The servants took the orders seriously. Dai Ming told Longyao, "Your people might not recognize Xiang Jun. If there is a mistake, it will be inconvenient." He suggested that Yang Nian accompany them for assurance. Shi Ying agreed. Longyao went straight to Xiang Jun's house with some of his servants. "Please come down quickly." At the doorstep, they all knocked desperately, and when Xiang Jun opened the door, they saw the palanquin and lighting along with Yang Longyao entering. Longyao explained, "These are my master's people. We have 300 silver coins to take Lady Tian as a bride for Lord Tian. Hurry up and get ready." The servants handed over the silver coins to Xiang Jun and said, "Here's the payment." Xiang Jun, seeing this scene, pulled Longyao inside and went up to her room. After opening the door, she told everything to Xiang Jun, who became furious and exclaimed, "Yang, sir, how dare you do this? On that day, you were the matchmaker when I married Hu. You should know. This act of betraying our union is a violation of morals." Yang Longyao replied, "I have no involvement in this. It's Lord Tian who took on this noble deed. In my opinion, we should leave immediately. These servants are hard to trust." Xiang Jun retorted, "Yang, sir, speaks of which poem? On that day, you were the matchmaker. Even if we part ways, our loyalty will never waver. Now, I am married to Hao. As husband and wife, we share a bond of mutual respect. How could she consider marrying again?" Yet, hearing the family below in unison cry out, "It's late. Hurry up and get into the carriage. We still need to reach the ship." Shanley said, "The matter is sealed. I can't help you anymore. Old Master Yang has made up his mind. I'll help him get dressed, comb his hair, and carry him out." Xiang Jun held her poetry fan, wielding it like a weapon of self-defense as she struck at random in front and behind. Shanley, seeing Xiang Jun's condition, was both shocked and worried, exclaiming, "My child is awake." By the time they quickly finished preparing her, Longyao embraced her and started to lift her, but Xiang Jun suddenly smashed her head against the floorboards, causing a gush of fresh blood, and she fell unconscious on the floor. "He has bruised his beautiful face, and blood is everywhere. Let's quickly take care of him in the bedroom while we figure out what to do." Longyao spoke to the household. "Don't rush, wait a moment. They are parting mother and child. It's pitiful." Just then, the family below shouted again, "It's already past midnight. He cheated us out of our silver, doesn't plan to send us off in a carriage, and now we're going up to get him." Shanley, hearing this, was anxious and asked, "What can we do?" Longyao countered, "You know the power of that official. This stubbornness could cost you your life. Xiang Jun has already been hurt, and there are people downstairs demanding her. What if old Master Yang leaves?" Shanley prostrated herself to Longyao, pleading for help. "Please tell me, Master." Shanley inquired, "What kind of solution?" Longyao thought for a moment and said, "Given where we stand, there's only one solution." Longyao explained, "It was good for her to leave the entertainment industry. 300 taels of dowry isn't too much to lose, and marrying her off to a steward isn't a bad thing either. Plus, she'll have plenty of delicious food and fine clothing at his home. She won't run out of things to wear in a lifetime. Since Xiang Jun has no chance to enjoy it, why don't you consider finding another family for her? This way, we can also avoid offending the official household, and all the relatives won't be troubled. I'm not even close in age to Xiang Jun. How could I bear to part with my belongings?" Shanley objected. "This is absolutely impossible. If someone recognizes her, it'll cause even more trouble. Can anyone distinguish her from you?" Longyao retorted, "That's of no concern. I'll tell you that she's Xiang Jun. You say you can't bear to part with her, but those cruel servants are demanding it. See how willing you are. It's better to temporarily follow his suggestion and have her leave." She handed Xiang Jun the dowry and prepared everything meticulously. Shanley, after thinking it over, said, "Xiang Gun is already hurt, and the family below is in a rush. If old Master Yang leaves without helping, I don't know how I'll manage." After repeated warnings and instructions, she said goodbye to Xiang Jun and bid farewell to Longyao, getting into a carriage with the family and heading towards Tianyang for the wedding. Uncertain of the future, Let's await tomorrow's revelation. Just then she thought, I have abandoned my songs and dance troupe. Who will I spend this night with? The 10th time, because of the fan, the master's student sought a son-in-law, testing the superior person serving wine, scolding insolence. And it happened that Xiang Jun, since breaking the flower container, her mother arranged a marriage. She had disappeared for over a month without coming down from the floor. Now alone guarding an empty floor, who will be my companion? One day, on the floor, remembering yesterday's events, tears welled up in her eyes, and she said, yesterday, using the bitter meat scheme, I preserved my whole body. Remembering Hulang avoiding danger, I don't know where he has fallen. Mom replaced me as a sacrifice. I don't know when he will return. He keeps me restless day and night. She wept while facing the fan. Feeling tired, she pressed the fan against her makeup table and fell asleep. Today, sitting alone, I couldn't help but take out Hulang's poetry fan. Looking at it, you see the poems on the fan stained with blood. Hulang, Hulang. How could you not know that my family has preserved your loyalty for you? Suddenly, Su Kunsheng and Yang Longyu came worriedly to see. They entered the room and, seeing the silence above, said, Xiang Jun refuses to come down. Let's go up and talk. They went upstairs and saw Xiang Jun sleeping on the makeup table. Longyu said, Xiang Jun is depressed and sleep-deprived. No need to wake her up. Kunsheng saw the fan displayed in front of him and took it, surprised, saying, Why are there so many red dots on this face? Longyu explained. Considering yesterday's bloodstains, they were left here to dry. He took the fan and showed it. The bloodstains were very vivid and red. Longyu exclaimed, Brilliant! He said, With these bloodstains, let's add some branches and leaves to decorate it. Without a suitable color, what can we do? Kunsheng replied, I'll gather some grass from the garden, twist and squeeze out the juice to use as a substitute for color. They began twisting the juice and painting the fan. They made her sit down, and Longyu said, After not coming to see you for a while, your wounds have already healed. In no time they finished and laughed, saying, It's now a peach branch fan. It can be called Peach Fan. Xiang Jun woke up from her sleep upon being startled by them, looking up and saying, I'm in trouble. He handed the fan to Xiang Jun, saying, The official has a painted fan as a gift for your makeup table. Xiang Jun, upon examining the fan, said, This is my old fan. How did it get these peach branches? Kunsheng explained, This is Yang Laoji's decoration on your bloodstains. Xiang Jun said, These peaches are so fragile, they float away from the bottom of the fan. Thank you, Yang Laoj, for drawing a portrait for me. Longyu continued, Just now we lightened up and offended you. With this peach fan, one must have a companion in life. Could it be that youth fades, leading to becoming the moon goddess? Xiang Jun retorted, How dare you speak such words? Those who hope are like smoke. They may stay on Titsi Tower forever. Kunsheng said, I think Xiang Jun's condition is unique in this world. I've heard that Hulang, under Igong's command, went to guard the river with Gaoji. Not long after, I'll return home. Once I find him, I'll ask him to arrange for you. How about a happy reunion? Upon hearing these words, Xiang Jun prostrated herself, saying, Thank you, teacher. Please go soon. Kunsheng replied, I'll gather some money tomorrow and prepare to leave, but you must write to me as soon as possible. Xiang Jun said, Now my emotions are all tangled up. I can't even write. Stop it. She then decided to send the fan, saying, Let this fan be a letter for now. She carefully wrapped and sealed the fan, handing it to Kunsheng with repeated warnings and tears streaming down her face. A dragon friend again told Qbiru, You've acted swiftly. After meeting Hulang, share your hardships with him, and he will surely come to marry you. Go pack your belongings. The expenses are taken care of by my men, so act quickly. Qbiru said, Thank you. I'll get ready as soon as I wake up tomorrow. The two parted ways from Xiang Jun, went downstairs and left. Just then, a new book sent far, a fan of peach blossoms, an old courtyard always locked, the floor of Fa Lu. But Xiang Jun, confined in Meixi Lu, steadfastly guarded her chastity, waiting daily for her master to find Hulang and return early, not just once. However, the new ruler Hongguang, fond of literature and the arts, appreciated actress courtesans. He wanted to play the Yanzi fan he had purchased with great fanfare as music in the palace, making it a joy for the Restoration era. So, he appointed Wang Du to the cabinet bachelor, Qianzhani as the minister of rituals, and Ru Nansai as an inner court official, breaking the rules by selecting him. The sound of the fan in the palace might be better from those who are accustomed to it, rather than fresh mouths. Ru Nansai, with his favor increasing each day due to his close association with the emperor, then presented, "My lord, I have already offered the Yanzi fan, which your majesty has graciously chosen. It's best to widely search for courtesans and actresses from Qin and similar old courtyards, invite them to the palace, and have them teach performances. This would save time." Hong Guang, upon hearing this, was delighted. He immediately decreed that Qin's old courtyard, including courtesans and actresses, be searched for, not omitting a single one. Thus, Ding Jiji et al., a group of courtesans, and Wen Yu Jing et al., another group of actresses, pleaded with Yang Longyao on their behalf, ensuring they were exempt from selection. Ru Ansai informed the Guiyang lord a reference to Hong Guang, asking him to invite them all, and Xiang Jun was also selected. That day happened to be the Lunar New Year of a snowy festival. Ru Nanzai and Yang Longyao were in Shangxin Pavilion, inviting Ma Shaining to drink and enjoy the snow, planning to introduce a group of courtesans and actresses to them. Xiang Jun was filled with resentment and held her breath, joining them all. Upon learning that the inspectors were Ma Shaining, Ru Nansai and Yang Longyao, she thought to herself, "It's a rare opportunity to share my thoughts with them." Among the courtesans and actresses, only Ding Jizi and Wen Hu Jing had changed their attire and taken vows as nuns, while others like Zhang Yanzhou, Zheng Daona, and Xiang Jun all came under escort to Shangxin Pavilion for inspection. Suddenly, she heard shouts from Ma Shaining, who had alighted from his carriage. Ru and Yang greeted him, their behavior repulsive. Suddenly, Ma Shaining said, "What a beautiful snow scene. This Shangxin Pavilion is indeed the place to enjoy snow." The snow-covered bell tower resembles round jade and crystal, making this viewing experience superior to any other. They chatted for some time, setting up tables with fire pots and amusement items, and began drinking. The servant bowed and answered, "They are all here." After several rounds, Ru Nansai asked the head servant, "Have all the selected courtesans arrived?" "Call them forward to be inspected," ordered Ru Nansai. Kui Beiman, Zheng Taona, and Xiang Jun, among others, approached one by one, bowing low. Ma Shaining finished inspecting each of them and said, "Have them go to the Ministry of Rituals for questioning." Ru Nansai stood up and reported, "They are here to serve in this special occasion." "What's her name?" Ma Shaining said with a smile, "Since both of you have been so kind, leave this younger one here." Ma Shaining laughed. "A woman named Zhengli?" The servant answered, "Her name is Li Zhengli. Come, sing and pour drinks. Fear of purity, but not necessarily chaste." Ma Shaining said, "Can't even sing?" Xiang Jun shook her head. "I won't sing." "How can she be called a courtesan? Feel free to share." Hangjin, filled with tears, said, "I was not a prostitute by choice." Sir Ying, seeing her thus, asked, "What troubles you?" Hangjin loudly proclaimed, "My troubles are like a chaotic pavilion. Last year they tore my husband and me apart. Today they've separated mother from Sona thief, avenging their grudges by slaughtering the innocent far worse than a bandit." Sir Ying said, "You have such concerns." Daki added, "This woman has suffered greatly." Longyao said, "My lord is here for pleasure. You don't need to only grieve and plead your case." Hangjin spoke, "Mr. Yang, you know my suffering, but it's not worth a single plea. But what do you do? With your honor present, hear me out. Half of the southern court looks up to you all. It's appropriate to gather troops, choose generals, avenge grievances, and restore Beijing. Then you wouldn't be ashamed as a loyal subject. You only think of honor and petting, choosing prostitutes from Qinhuai and summoning guests from Qinglao to please the court." Daki and Longyao both exclaimed, "Not in front of your honor. We must be respectful. Today, amidst this snowstorm, with me drinking and singing with you, forgetting the betrayal of Chongzhen's hanging, seeking mere fleeting pleasure, how can I not feel ashamed or angry?" Sir Ying, furious upon hearing this, said, "This girl is speaking nonsense and deserves a beating." Hanjin, furious, unleashed a torrent of insults. "You bunch of eunuchs, showing your faces before everyone, do you not know shame? Call me father. Address me as son, dishonoring myself for your benefit, truly disgracing our family." Daki, furious upon hearing this, asked, "Who is she insulting?" "You today, taking advantage of the new ruler's leniency, slandering and frustrating others. Show dare you. Take her away and throw her into the snow. Dares speak thus to your honor. We're all in trouble." He kicked Hangjin viciously. Longyao, while stopping Daki, pulled Hangjin up, as Sir Ying said, "She's just a servant." It's easy to get rid of her. We'll have someone take her to the inner court and pick the most suffering-looking one for her fate. Drag her away. How could this woman disrupt a fine gathering? Please forgive us. We hope to make amends another day. This is ridiculous. Ru and Yang, hurriedly bowing and begging forgiveness. We are at fault. Just then, the party should end as spring snow melts on the table. Guest's shame would be cut off if beauty is beheaded. Unaware of the aftermath, we await next episode. We are selecting virtuous women and establishing the main palace. These are all minor matters. 11th chapter. Selecting theater roles in Hongwind Palace. Capturing city soldiers at Sihu Town today. No foreign invaders come. No internal disturbances arise. Nuan de Jiao, standing by, paid his respects and said, "Only because I enjoy the honor of being an emperor, with no display of power or color, confined to a high arch, it is not without its frustrations." The Hongyi emperor ordered him to bow, and spoke to Nuan de Jiao. "Now is the time of spring sunshine, flowers blooming where snow once fell. How unfortunate that this old man is too lazy to enjoy leisure activities." "Why then are you complaining about being lazy?" "Why?" Nuan de Jiao knelt down and explained, "Your Majesty should be enjoying peace, so it is suitable for pleasure." The Honglite emperor replied, "My thoughts are clear. I believe you know as well. Please make it clear so that we may share the burdens." But Nuan de Jiao, being ignorant, pretends not to understand, feigning confusion, and said, "Your lowly subject is too dim-witted. Your Majesty's thoughts are so profound that I cannot fathom them." The Honglite emperor said, "I have already made it known to you. As a ruler, why ask for something that cannot be obtained? However, your presented Zizi scroll is indeed music for the reign of a new era, decorating the first matter of peace. Today, on the 9th day of the first month, we still haven't chosen the performer. If there's a delay until the Lantern Festival, wouldn't that be regrettable?" He then pointed to a couplet written by Wang Du. "Things are like having a cup in hand. 100 years may pass before seeing the moon at the top. How many Yuanxiao festivals can we have this year? This is why I hesitate, resulting in reduced sleep and meals." But he didn't know what kind of performers were available at the inner court. "All these are my faults. I am willing to bow down and serve you with all my efforts to make amends." Nuan de Jiao knelt down in front of the temple, saying, "It seems that this song barley carries a sense of concern for your Majesty." The Honglite emperor said, "Other types of performers can still do. Only Sin male lead, Dan female lead, and Xiao Chu clown don't meet my expectations. Your Majesty's decree should be sent for them to come in." Nuan de Jiao responded, "The Ministry of Rites has presented clean guests and courtesans in the outer courtyard waiting to be selected." The Honglite emperor agreed, sending Nuan de Jiao to deliver the message, calling them into the hall. Upon seeing this group of people, he asked each one, "Can you perform the new legend scroll, Zizi?" Everyone responded, "We have performed it before." But Xiang Jun, one of the performers, bowed her head in silence, prompting the Honglite emperor to ask, "Why is that young female singer silent?" Xiang Jun replied, "I haven't learned how to sing." Taking advantage of this, Nuan de Jiao suggested, since she hasn't learned, according to regulations, she should be assigned to play Xiao Chu clown, while those who have learned should take on Sin or Dan roles. The Honglite emperor agreed. He then asked Xiang Jun again, "If you haven't learned Zizi, can you perform another piece?" Xiang Jun replied, "I have learned Muden Ting Peony Pavilion." The Honglite emperor said, "You will be performing Muden Ting soon. Let me see." She blushes, looking shy. "I'll give her a peach fan to cover the spring colors. It's all for the water-spotted flowers flying before my eyes." Xiang Jun held the fan and bowed, thanking him as she sang, "Why do you trace the jade true love back to woolen spring? He doesn't need heaven to pay for the flowers. Then our hearts have a red sorrowing cry. Cough. A betrayal of spring's 3 or 2 months. Lazy eyebrow," the Honglite emperor exclaimed. "This woman is beautiful in both voice and appearance. Assigning her as Xiao Chu clown would be too unfair to her. Instead, let's swap that black one over." He then added after a moment of heavy drinking, "My worries are gone by 9/10. Let the servants pour more wine. Enjoy yourselves, for tonight is reserved for leisure and enjoyment. Long-serving, it is appropriate to present the royal script copied by King Daku to this woman, allowing her to recite in the Pavilion of Perfumed Winds for 3 days, and then she can be initiated into the class." Daigyo, along with everyone else, received the imperial decree and exited, while Xiang Jun read the script in the Pavilion of Perfumed Winds. It was said, "Even if there is spring wind, It has no way to enter. The green peach blossoms are locked behind Longmen Gate. Meanwhile, Hao Zong, on behalf of Shi Gong, arrived in Suyang with General Xiao Ji to guard the river. He thus approached Xiao Ji earnestly, trying to dissuade him. However, Xiao Ji's temperamental nature caused him to publicly scold General Su Dingu, making Zong fear that a conflict might arise, making it difficult to rescue him. Xiao Ji was a brave but unwise warrior, so he refused to listen to Zong's pleas. Zong, fearing the worst, forcefully parted ways with Xiao Ji and fled. After this, Xiao Ji strutted around with an air of superiority. Unbeknownst to him, Shu Dingu's wife, Hao Shi, plotted against him by sending someone with an official seal to invite Xiao Ji into the city for a banquet and to inspect the troops. Xiao Ji, being naive, took the invitation along with his 2 trusted generals and headed towards Su Dingu's office to drink and inspect the troops. As they arrived at the bridgehead, Xiao Ji inquired, "Who are you, officer?" The crowd answered, "We are sent by General Su Ai." He asked again, "Where is General Su then?" They all replied, "General Su is ill and unable to attend. He has sent us with his seal to invite the general into the city for a drink while checking the troops." Xiao Ji, without suspicion, accepted the seal and entered the office with the crowd, saying, "Bring me some drinks. I shall enjoy a good round of drinking before heading out to inspect the troops." Not long after, the banquet was prepared. Xiao Ji and his 2 generals drank, unaware that they were heavily intoxicated. Just as they intended to stand up, they heard a cannon fire. He shouted loudly, "Xiao Ji has escaped." General Su, with a blade in hand, killed both of Xiao Ji's generals while he himself had disappeared. "Quickly find him." They lit torches and searched everywhere. One general exclaimed, "The roof tiles are shattered. He must have climbed out." Another suggested, "Look at the ridge of that building. There seems to be a human-like figure up there. Quickly shoot an arrow." Xiao Ji, having no choice, leaped down from the roof and was captured by the crowd. They recognized him and said, "We only recognize General Su, not you. Come out, all you dark and yellow ones." Xiao Ji, regretting his decision to ignore Zong's advice, said with a stretch of his neck, "Take my head." The outcome of this incident remains unknown, and we shall continue from where we left off in the next chapter. The crowd brought Xiao Ji's head to General Su as a tribute, and they were ordered to leave the city at night while carrying Xiao Ji's head to the northern court to present their victory. Chapter 12. Master Su falls into the water and encounters an old acquaintance. It was then revealed that Xiao Ji had been killed by General Su, who took his head to present as a contribution to the northern court while leaving with the troops. Along the Huanghe River, countless soldiers fled along the riverbank. He carried his packages and hired a donkey to ride quickly. At this time, Master Su Kunsheng, entrusted by Xiang Jun, decided to venture into Xiao Ji's camp to search for Zong. However, just as he was traveling, he encountered several fleeing soldiers who pushed him off the donkey and into the river while they fled. At a critical moment, he saw a small boat ahead with a man rowing it, and intended to dock. In the boat was an old woman who called out, "Captain, look!" Luckily, Kunsheng had landed in shallow water, so he stood up with his head above the water, shouting loudly, "Help! Help! There's someone in shallow water calling for help. They must have fallen into the river. You and I should row across and save them, doing a good deed and earning merit." The old woman said, "If one does a good deed, the heavens will protect them." The rower replied, "The Yellow River is swift. We can't play around here. You won't drown." Hearing the old woman's words, he quickly rowed to the shallow water, calling out, "Climb aboard!" He said, "It's so cold." Kun Sin, seeing the rower extend his oar, climbed on board, shivering with cold and wet. Kun Sin thanked him. The rower offered, "I'll get you some dry clothes to change into." After changing, Kun Sin bowed and expressed his gratitude for being saved, saying, "I feel like a new person, reborn from my parents." The rower, looking at him, said, "It's not up to me. It was this woman who asked me to save you." Hearing this, Kun Sin bowed in the cabin and asked, "How did you end up here?" The old woman, also surprised, carefully looked at him and replied, "That's not Master Su. Where did you come from? How did you end up in the water?" The two wept as they recognized each other. It was the old woman who saved him. Sitting in the cabin, Kun Sin spoke of entrusting his fan to Xiang Jun and finding the imperial capital. He heard that it was in High Nobleman Sao's residence, so he came looking for him, but some rebels stole his horse and threw him into the water. "You two can talk while I sleep." The rower, seeing them reach an emotional point, told the old woman, "Let's get a basin of hot water to dry this old man's clothes." He went to the back cabin and took a nap. Meanwhile, Kun Sin, drying his clothes on board, spoke with the old woman. "Lift the sail, and we'll make good time tomorrow." The rower replied, "Sir, don't be in such a hurry." Just then, a boat from Luoyang rode by, and someone in the cabin said, "Captain, this is the area of Luoyang. With these winds and waves, it's impossible to travel. Look, there's another boat docked over there. Let's stay here tonight and wait for the wind and waves to calm down before heading out." "As you wish," they said, and docked their boat next to the old woman's. "Let's get some rest after calming our nerves," they decided, and fell asleep on board. Kun Sin dried his clothes and spoke with the old woman while waiting. The sound of his voice seemed familiar. Kun Sin put down his clothes and asked the rower, "Whose boat is that?" He noticed a passenger boat docking nearby, and a scholar in it, though it was dark and he couldn't make out his features clearly. "Are you docking here as well? Can you tell me anything about this dignitary?" The rower replied, "I'm taking a dignitary to Gixing." Kun Sin said, "I'm also headed to Gixing," Juzi explained. "An old official I'm supposed to meet." Juzi hadn't even had a chance to respond when he was already awoken by the morning light. Turning to ask the charioteer, "Who were you talking to that startled my dream?" Kuning, upon seeing him, exclaimed, "Isn't it Lord Hao?" Haosing, stepping out of the cabin in shock, asked, "Isn't he Su Kuning? I never expected to find you here." Chengni, emerging from the cabin, said, "Lord Hao, how could you be so heartless, leaving my daughter alone on the floor of our courtyard and not visiting her once?" Haosing replied, "I had to leave because of a disaster. That's why I haven't returned. I've been working with Gao Ji to defend the river. Since both of you are here, I assume Lady Xian is also aboard. Please come and meet me." "What joyous news," Chengmi said. "Lady Xian is actually here?" But she continued, "Lady Xian has been thinking of you day and night since you left her. She hasn't stepped outside her room." Haosing, before he could finish speaking, burst out, "My Lady Xian, just now, a high-ranking official named Yang Yu held up 300 silver coins 3 times and insisted on marrying her. Why has she changed her mind?" Chengni answered, "She never got married. She couldn't move. Lady Xian was determined to wait for you and died on the floor of our courtyard." Hussein wept. "My Lady Xian. Why did she die?" Chengni explained. "It wasn't a real death. Her face was covered in blood. There were voices calling for help from below. I had to take her place and marry Tian Yang on her behalf." Hussein, smiling, said, "These troubles are so unfortunate. Where is the letter?" He then asked Kuning, "How did you get hold of this?" Kuning replied, "Lady Xian was waiting for you every day in the courtyard, so I delivered a letter seeking you on her behalf." Hussein asked. Kuning opened his bag, took out a fan, and handed it to him. Hussein looked at it and said, "This is the poem fan I gave to her. How can this be a letter?" He examined the other side and said, "Who painted these peach blossoms? This peach blossom fan is precious to me." Kuning recounted how Lady Xian accidentally shattered her face, splattering blood on the fan, which was then embellished with willow leaves by Yang Yu, creating the illusion of several branches filled with falling petals. Haosing, upon close inspection, saw the telltale red spots and wept. "I've killed my Lady Xian. I've worshipped it every day, but I never imagined it would end up in your hands." Hussein wept. "Lady Xian." Kuning explained again how he used the fan as a substitute for a letter. "How can I ever repay you?" He then asked, "Why are you with Chengni on this boat?" Kuning recounted their meeting by the Yellow River, where they were pushed into the water by rebels, and how Chengni guided them to safety with the help of the charioteer. Uncertain if they would find Lady Xian, they awaited further developments in the next chapter. He also told Hao Shang about Gao Ji's refusal to listen to his advice, his subsequent departure from Gao's command, and the latter's assassination by Sioux soldiers. Afraid of any potential traces left behind, Hao Shang decided to leave quickly, changing clothes and setting off on the boat with Kuning towards Nanjing. Chapter 13. Seeking a beautiful person on the rooftop, visiting an old friend at the bookstore, and being caught. In a matter of days they arrived in Nanjing. As evening fell, they sought a store to rest for the night. And so it came to pass that Hao Juzong and Su Kunsheng boarded a boat and set sail towards Nanjing under the starry night, fortunate that the wind was favorable and the boat swift. Before long, he reached Xiangjin's gate. The following morning, with Kunsheng guarding their luggage in the shop, Hao Juzong went alone, carrying a peach fan, towards Qinhui. He noticed that both doors were slightly ajar, and there was no sign of movement. He pushed open the door and slipped inside. He had already arrived at Meixiang floors below. Hao Zhozong reflected to himself, "This is my Xiang floor. I'll refrain from disturbing her. It appears desolate and empty, with the curtains drawn closed during the day. Perhaps Xiang Jun is still asleep after having been up late the night before." He then picked up his lapel and stepped onto the stairs, quietly ascending to see what was inside. To his surprise, he found that the singing floor and dance halls had been transformed into a painting studio. As he stood there in contemplation, he suddenly heard footsteps on the floor below. Unaware of his presence, Xiang Jun's bedroom was also open, and Hao Zhozong paused to wonder if Xiang Jun was practicing her art to pass the time, having declined to follow the traditional path of the courtesan. Just as he was about to move closer, he noticed that the room was tightly sealed, suggesting it hadn't been opened in some time, leaving him feeling uncertain and lost. He looked down and saw a person with a painting scroll climbing up the stairs. "How dare you climb up to my residence?" Upon seeing Hao Zhozong, the visitor exclaimed, "Who are you?" Hao answered, "This is my Xiang Jun makeup floor. Why are you here?" Hao Zhozong greeted him with respect indeed. The visitor introduced himself as Blue Eagle, a painter sent by Yang Longyao, Minister of the Military Commission, to reside there. "I am Hong-en Hao Zhozong, an old acquaintance of Mr. Yang." Blue Eagle was astounded by Hao's fame and exclaimed, "Your name is renowned. It is an honor to finally meet you. Please sit down." Hao inquired about Xiang Jun, and Blue Eagle revealed that she had been selected for the palace. Upon hearing this news, Hao Zhozong's expression faltered. His eyes filled with tears as he said, "How could she be chosen for the palace? When did this happen?" He continued, "Just look at these blankets completely covered, and the remaining scraps of cloth. It breaks my heart to see them." Recalling their love-making day when peaches were in bloom under a newly constructed makeup floor, he couldn't help but weep. As he was sobbing, he heard someone calling out, "Mr. Yang from the Military Commission has come to visit Master Blue Eagle. He's waiting outside with his carriage." Blue Eagle hurried up to greet him. Yang Longyao greeted Hao Zhozong, asking about his arrival time. Hao replied that he had just arrived and hadn't yet been acknowledged. Yang inquired if Hao had heard about the recent events involving General Gao. "I understand you were once part of Mr. Shi's inner circle and then worked on the river defense under High Minister Gao," Yang said. "According to the reports I saw yesterday, General Gao was killed by Su Dingu on the 10th day of the first month." Hao recounted that he had witnessed Gao's humiliation of Su Dingu and tried to intervene but failed. Fearing for his safety, he resigned and returned to his hometown, intending to help his father evade capture in the mountains. Unbeknownst to others, he had traveled south by boat, where he encountered Su Kunsheng, who was carrying a fan, and they spent the night together on their way to keep an appointment. He only learned then that Xiang Jun was no longer there. Yang informed him that Xiang Gun had been selected for the palace on the 8th day of the first month. Hao Sheng asked again, "When can she leave?" "I can only wait here." Long Yu replied, "It's unlikely Lady Xiang will ever leave the palace, and this place isn't suitable for a long-term stay." They looked up and saw it was a painting of cute peach blossom spring. "Why not look for someone else?" The two continued their conversation, and while they were talking, Lan Ying finished sketching. Hao Sheng asked, "Who did you paint this for?" Hao Sheng praised, "Excellent." Lan Ying answered, "I painted it for Master Zhang Yaxing, to be framed as a screen for his newly renovated Songwind Pavilion. The composition and colors are entirely different from the traditional style." Lan Ying said humbly, "Please write a poem to give my painting some life." Hao Sheng demurely replied, "I'm afraid I might spoil it with bad calligraphy." So he wrote a 7-character verse. Originally, seeing a floral cave, who would have thought they'd get lost? Fisherman points to an empty mountain path, seeking the peach source to avoid Qin. Return to Dehao, domain vast and wide. Long Yu read it through and said, "This is a wonderful verse. It carries deep meaning, almost suggesting there's a little brother involved." He then stood up and explained, "Hao brothers, don't be upset. Today, Ma and Ruin are the ones in power, obsessed with revenge. Given her temperament, she'll surely curse them both. Just as luck would have it, 8 days from now they're hosting a feast and inviting Lady Xiang to sing." Ruan Yuanhai pushed her into the snow, kicking her with his feet. "Fortunately, I was nearby and managed to calm her down enough to send her back to the palace, where she's safe for now. You shouldn't be attached to this, for it might be a trap." Hao Sheng listened and said, Yes, I'll leave at once." He bid farewell to Lan Tianshun, went downstairs and left. As he was leaving, he thought of, Chang'e entered the moon, wuxia, empty clouds in the sky. In Nanjing, there was a bookshop on Sanshan Street called Kai Yuanan's. It was filled with books, from ancient to modern, meticulously curated and precisely printed. They posted the covers on the roof for easier purchasing. On this particular day, Kai Yuanan opened his shop, hung up a sign, and, as it happened to be the year of the examination, he received a request from Minister of Rites Chen Qiani to rectify the literary style and promote the culture of Nanjing. He hired masters such as Chen Dingsheng, Wu Zaitai et al. To revise and critique the texts. Meanwhile, Hao Chongsong returned home after hearing Yang Longyu's words and arranged for Lady Xiang's entry into the palace. He told his brother about Ruin's revenge plot, worried that she might be staying in the shop where traces could be found, so they packed their bags and decided to seek a secluded place to stay for a while, hoping to learn more about Lady Xiang. Hao's brother suggested, "The mood has changed, and the political situation is not good. Besides, the officials in power are tirelessly exposing and punishing the righteous every day. Why don't we temporarily avoid the conflict and listen to news about Lady Xiang at our leisure?" Hu Sheng agreed. "That's right. There aren't many people I know in this area, but Chen Dingsheng lives in Yixing, and Wu Zaitai and Guichu guess visiting them would be a nice change of pace." The two walked through streets and alleys, talking as they went, until they reached Sanshan Street. They saw Kai Yuanan's sign and Hao Sheng pointed it out. "This is Kai Yuanan's bookstore. Chen Dingsheng and Wu Zaitai often stay here. You should ask them a question." As they walked underneath the eaves, they noticed a cover pasted on a pillar, with silk reclaiming society texts written in large characters. Smaller print below read, "Renfu Revival of Learning Texts, compiled by Chen Dingsheng and Wu Zaitai, in the years Imo and Gimme." He went up to the counter and asked, "Can I ask?" Hu Sheng was delighted and said, "It looks like they're staying here too." Kai Yin replied, "I will ask them to come out." Kai Yin came out to meet them, and Hao Sheng said, "Please ask Chen Dingsheng and Wu Zaitai, the two gentlemen, if they are here." Hearing this, the two were overjoyed, and they invited them into the tea-house. Suddenly, Ingyuan Daizang was promoted to Minister of War, received a jade and gold serpent, and was ordered to defend the river. That day, as guests arrived in Sanshan Street, they saw book covers on the store's pillars with Fuxu Society written on them, so they called the head servant to remove one, and they exclaimed in anger, "Ah! The Fuxu Society is a new rise from Donglin, together with Zhao Jian and Lei Yunzuo, and the court is investigating them. How dare they keep selecting books? This book guest is extremely bold. Stop the carriage. Quickly deliver this notice to the town official, and have them take the person into custody, carefully watching over them so they do not escape." They then instructed the shopkeeper to tell the town official, "This bookstore does not obey the law, colludes with Fuxu Society leaders, and is currently being investigated for rebellious parties." The three inside heard this and immediately went out to the carriage, questioning, "What crimes have we committed that they are taking us?" "You old man fears neither heaven nor earth." Daizang asked, "What is your title? Today, you come to recognize me." The three revealed their names, and Daizang, furious, said, "Ah, so it's you three. Well, take him away to the gate and talk about his conduct." He then got into the carriage and left. Daizang pretended to smile, saying, "Take your time, there's something I want to say." 4 officials with locks and warrants arrived at the store, asking the shopkeeper, "Where are the 3 scholars? Quickly lead us to them." The 3 said, "We are they." Without hesitation, the officials locked them up and took them away. Kai Yin exclaimed, "Su, brother, this is dire. They've taken the book selectors, and even Hu Sheng. What should we do?" Kun Sheng suggested, "Let's follow and find out about a true report, so we can try to save them." Meanwhile, Chen Dingsheng, along with his companions, was taken to the town official's office for interrogation. After Kun Sheng gathered information, he was determined to save them and set out with a plan. Fortunately, the hallmaster, Zhang Yaoxing, refused to bow to power, stood firm, and tried to question them fairly, ensuring they were not entangled in the party of traitors. Who can help them get out? Returning to the store, he pondered, "Now, all in the court area Daizang's party members." He left immediately, packed his bags, and headed towards Ningnan. He thought deeply before remembering Ningnan's left Lianju, who had a close relationship with Hu Sheng's son. In a few days he arrived in Ningnan and stayed there for 3 days without access. He wandered around the streets each day until one day he saw a general left leading troops on the river. Unable to find a way to meet him, he pretended to be drinking at a restaurant, hoping to see the general after he returned to camp. However, as the sun set and no movement was seen, he waited until the moon rose only to see the troops returning to camp. He sang a song to attract the general's attention, hoping for an opportunity to meet him. As he sang, he heard the sound of approaching horses, thinking it might be the general. But instead, he realized it was just ordinary people passing by as they sang louder. Zizhu Lianyu, Yuan Jixian, Huang Shua, and others arrived together. "Get them down immediately." Upon reaching the floor below the inn, they heard loud singing from above and immediately halted their horses to inquire. During this period of martial law, who is singing up there? The soldiers followed orders and ascended the floor, locking them up and bringing them before Zizhu. Zizhu rebuked. "Military orders are stringent," Zizhu asked. "Was it you who just sang?" Kong Shangren prostrated himself and said, "I was unable to see the marshal, having no means of entry, so I bravely sang in the hope of catching a glimpse of your face." "Such audacity! Where are you from?" "Take them to the office for detailed questioning." A short while later, they dismounted at the office and sat down together. Yuan Jixian said, "The person who was singing should be released immediately." Zizhu then ordered Kong Shangren brought forward and asked, "Who are you? Why did you dare sing in the middle of the night? Tell me the truth." Kong Shangren replied, "I am from Nanjing, specifically coming to see the marshal. Due to having no access, I committed a crime on purpose to gain an audience with your honor." Zizhu inquired, "What is the reason for you wanting to meet me?" Kong Shangren began to weep and said, "In Beijing, treacherous officials are targeting loyal subjects, without cause arresting Prince Hao Gaozong." Zizhu asked, "Is Prince Hao your mentor's son?" "I specifically came to see the marshal, hoping on our old friendship to lead troops to clear your side, purge the traitors, rescue Prince Hao, and show my gratitude beyond measure." "Do you have any documents?" Kong Shangren prostrated himself again. On that day, Nguyen Daqian personally led the officers to arrest him. There was no time to write anything down. After a moment's thought, he declared, "Wait." Zizhu said, "I can't believe it based on your word alone. I have an old acquaintance of Prince Hao's in my service. Have him identify them, and we'll know the truth." He then ordered, "Please, Lord Liu, come out." Jingting, upon hearing that they were calling for his recognition outside, slowly emerged and asked, "Who is it that I am supposed to recognize?" On seeing Kong Shangren, he was shocked. "Oh, it's my brother-in-arms, Su Kunqu. Where have you come from?" He then turned to Zizhu and said, "He is Su Kunqu from Henan, a renowned singer. Everyone knows him." Zizhu had Kong Shangren rise and sit down, asking, "Tell me, why was Prince Hao arrested? It wouldn't even be a distant journey for me." Kong Shangren recounted everything from the beginning, prostrating himself again and saying, "I only request that the marshal issue an early rescue letter. How can we not hate them?" Zhu, upon hearing this, became enraged and said to Yuan Jixian and Huang Shua, "You also see how things stand in court." Yuan Jixian added, "Not only that, I hear that Princess Dong's relative made a long journey but was refused by Ma and Guyan. They hid her privately, intending to select her later for the imperial consort position, scheming for personal gain. Isn't this an act of murder? And what about Prince Chongzhen?" Huang Shua also said, "There's another matter. He was the heir apparent for 7 years, yet there are concrete proofs from officials now imprisoned, which has made everyone angry. I'll think that Ma and Nguyen should be blamed for their actions. Prince Chongzhen ascended to the throne 7 years ago. There were credible officials who testified, but they have been locked up in prison. People are furious and think that those responsible, like Ma and Nguyen, should face justice. This is nothing but the policy of a declining dynasty, even if there are some honest ones like me left alone. How can I restore China?" Zizhu listened and became even angrier, saying, "We have fought valiantly on the battlefields to serve our country, yet we trusted the traitors, killed righteous people, sold offices and titles day in and out, taught dancing and singing. Alas! Also, compose a fierce edict. There's nothing to do but act as a ruler. Moi." He then bowed to Yuan Jixian, "Write up an accusation against Ma and Guyan for deceiving the emperor, misusing power, abandoning the empress, imprisoning the heir apparent. Count all these crimes." The 2 men promptly picked up their brushes and within moments had completed the document. He then bowed to Huang Shui again. "I depend on Zhonglin for the initial draft. I'll just say that I'm ordering my troops to advance. Will he die or surrender?" Everyone signed at the top, and they ordered it to be quickly copied, as they planned to launch their attack the next day. Yuan and Huang suggested. There are numerous anonymous letters circulating in Beijing, and Ma and Ruan have been tasked with collecting them. If we get our hands on any, we'll burn them. This declaration will surely change their minds. Furthermore, we've given orders to General Du Hongyi of Anqing to construct defensive walls, as they've been preparing for our troops for a while. Even if it reaches them through couriers, some may be burned, and those who survive will be caught, so what should we do? Jingting, standing nearby, stepped forward and said, "Let an old man handle this." Jingting responded, "This old life isn't hard to come by. I just want the matter handled properly." Everyone was surprised. This Mr. Liu is indeed a descendant of Jinko. We should send him off with white robes and caps. Liang Yu was overjoyed, ordering, "Bring wine. I'll toast you after this." He immediately took the declaration, wrapped it up, bid farewell, and set off. Everyone joined in the toasting, and Jingting greeted Ma Sheng as he said, "I'll leave my brother here with the marshal while I get ready for my journey." At that moment, a hero champions justice and sends a declaration. A mighty general advances with fury and joins the fight. Jingting was unafraid of death or life as he made his way to Nanjing to deliver the declaration. He left Liang Yu, packed his bags, took the declaration, and headed for Nanjing. All officials were present outside the taping gate, setting up altars to pay respects. In no time at all, he arrived in Beijing on the 19th day of March, which happens to be the anniversary of Emperor Chongzhen's death. Ma Shenying et al. Had just finished paying their respects and faked tears. "Oh, Emperor." They saw a man dressed in mourning clothes charging towards them, weeping. "Oh, Emperor, your nation is broken. Your family is destroyed. All the blame lies with those East Lin scoundrels who have since gone to serve the Northern Court. We few loyal subjects are left behind, and even now we want to pay our respects. Why will you not listen?" Ruan had barely wiped away his tears when he greeted the others. Ma Shenying saw that it was Ruan Daqian and felt less favorable towards him. He used his hand to pull Ruan, saying, "Don't be too mournful. Get up and bow." They intended to set up toys, drink, and admire the flowers. Ma Shenying took the scroll and was stunned. As officials dispersed, Ma Shenying and Ruan wanted to visit peonies, dismounted at the entrance and made their way to the garden. However, they hadn't even begun when an official with a scroll knelt down and reported, "The Lord of Ningxuan, Left Goodman Liang Yu, has sent a memorial directly to the Ministry of Justice. This cabinet letter has been delivered for your perusal." He exclaimed, "Oh no. This is a memorial against us. It lists 7 charges against us and requests the Emperor issue punishments, which is infuriating." Someone presented the declaration, saying, "This document was brought by couriers." No. When Ma Shenying unfolded it, he saw it was a declaration demanding his head. He was horrified as he read through it. Soon, troops would be advancing to take his head. "This declaration is aimed at me," he said to Ruan, clearly distressed. "It criticizes me harshly and threatens my life. What should I do?" Ruan, upon hearing this, trembled from head to toe and said, "Don't worry, there must be a way out." Ma Shenying responded, "How? If the northern troops cross the river, who will oppose them?" "Peace," Ruan whispered in his ear. "With the northern troops coming, there will be no need to resist or surrender." Sir Ying, upon hearing the words, had a sudden realization and said, "I was concerned. A true man of valor roars loudly. He would rather knock against the horses of the northern troops than test the swords of the southern bandits." Grand Hammer readily agreed and said, "After bidding farewell to my teacher, I shall leave right away. Now, my resolve is set. I will immediately dispatch the military credentials to summon the 3 towns' forces, yet I still need Elder Yuan's personal assistance in person." Sir Ying then added, "Wait! There's one more piece of confidential information." Whispering into Grand Hammer's ear, he revealed, "The cabinet members Hai and Jiang Riguang, both part of the left-tending party, have been removed from their posts. Zhou Guan and Lei Yanzu, feared to be internal traitors, should be executed as soon as possible." The villainous Grand Hammer exclaimed, "Absolutely!" and he bowed respectfully before leaving. "I do not know how things will turn out. Let's listen to the details below." Just then, Sir Ying nodded and said, "Take a moment's sentiment, so that we might meet again in the future." The 15th chapter. It was said that Grand Hammer captured Liu Jingting and sent him to prison. Lord Qing sighed. Yang Luiying dies. The lawful one throws himself into the river. He then personally went to Wanghe to summon troops from 3 towns, ambushing left troops at Sajiang. When Generals Huang and Liu saw the military credentials, they disregarded their river defenses and immediately withdrew their forces. They set up crossbows on Zhejiang, firing arrows to block the path of the left troops. General Liu Ying ordered his son, Dream Geng, to sail forward to kill them, but the crossbowmen fired volleys of arrows, preventing his advance, leading to a defeat and retreat. Liu Ying feared that his son Dream Geng might be tempted by irregular soldiers, constantly advising him and refraining from further discussion. Suddenly, he heard news that Huang Digong had killed Sajiang, and the vanguard returned defeated. He exclaimed in surprise, "Huang Digong is indeed a capable man, but why does he take orders from Ma and Guyan? Isn't this something to be resentful about? Why doesn't he remember the late emperor's 6-inch-high orphan?" He ordered his attendants to invite Elder Yuan and Inspector He to come aboard for discussion. Liu Ying sighed. It's useless to dwell on it. Huang Zhuxi hurriedly came over, and Liu Ying greeted him joyously. "Xu Ming has finally arrived. Why wasn't Inspector He present?" Huang Zhuxi explained. He turned back halfway. "We must wait for Yuan Elder's arrival before further discussion." The three met and exchanged greetings. Suddenly, a report came. "Inspector Yuan has arrived by boat." Yuan Zhisheng said, "I was in Wuhan, returning to my post while organizing troops. I wish to follow your orders. We should quickly send someone to negotiate." Liu Ying countered, "Jingting is gone. Who can we send? What shall we do?" Both Huang and Liu Ying remarked, "Given the current situation with Huang Digong killing Sajiang and the vanguard's defeat, what are we to do?" Yuan Zhisheng advised, "Since matters have reached this stage, we cannot stop now." Su Kunsheng spoke up. "I have a personal connection with him and am willing to offer my services." Huang Zhuxi agreed. "Kunsheng, the righteous man, is not inferior to Jingting. Today is an excellent opportunity to utilize his skills. Yuan Elder's flag-bearing troops have breached the city walls. This is terrible." Just as they were discussing, a messenger arrived with shocking news. "Fire has broken out within Jiang City." Yuan Zhisheng exclaimed in shock. "How could my banner-bearers breach the city on their own?" "Mouse." Liu Ying flew into a rage, saying, "There can be no mistake. Don't doubt it. This must be a deed of my son, Dream Geng, who has trapped me as a rebel. Alas, what face can I show the elders of Jiangdong?" He immediately drew his sword and wanted to kill himself. He shouted and vomited blood before collapsing and dying. Huang Shu held on to Liang Yu, and Liang Yu grabbed Yuan Jixian's hand, gazing intently and saying, "General, I have failed you." Everyone mourned for a moment, and when they saw that Liang Yu was dead, Yuan Jixian and Huang Shu realized that the armies were leaderless. They then returned to Wuhan to start anew with He Tenjiang. Liang Yu's troops also scattered. How pitiful. Huang Xin, seeing this scene, stared blankly for a while and said, "They've all left, leaving me, Su Guangxin, alone guarding the general's body." He lit incense and held a mourning ceremony. When his son rushed to pay respects and returned to the ship, he gathered himself and then bid farewell. Meanwhile, Huang Digong only knew to cut down the left troops, which led to Liang Yu's son dreaming of rebellion, a grievous anger that took his life, leaving Huang River unguarded. There is a poem that describes this. The hero could not cross Jiangzhou, his spirit bound to the spring waves, looking upon the verdant mountains, no gravesite in sight, the gentle breeze and fine rain drenching the ship's head. On the 21st day of April, northern troops crossed the river and entered Huai. Shikela led 3,000 soldiers from Huai'an to resist, but they could not hold back, so he had to abandon Huai'an and guard Yangzhou. The armies were divided in their hearts, with many considering surrender, but Kela tried to calm them down. He wept with tears turning into rain, all turning red. At that moment, feeling helpless, he stepped forward and said, "Looking at this scene, it's clear they have thoughts of rebellion, not expecting the will of heaven and men to crumble like this. The only way I can repay my national gratitude is to die." Kela heard this and wiped away his tears, comforting the troops. He allocated men and horses for defense. When the generals saw their leader in such a state, each touched by their conscience, they knelt before Kela and said, "General, we know your loyalty fully. If northern troops surround the city, we will all follow your command, fighting to the death, ensuring Yangzhou is never taken." Unbeknownst to them, the northern troops were invincible. When they arrived, each surrendered in turn. At this time, Kela had no choice but to personally supervise the soldiers and citizens. Having seized Huai'an, they besieged Yangzhou. Although the armies defended with all their hearts, the city was short of food and surrender seemed imminent. The people in the Yangzhou fortress were starving in large numbers. Kala realized he could not hold out any longer, so he decided to jump off the city wall at night, run to Nanjing where troops still existed, protect the emperor, and try to restore the realm. He left alone, without a single companion, and jumped off the wall under the cover of darkness, rushing along the river. Halfway through, as dawn approached, he saw numerous refugees fleeing south, so he paused for a moment before resting. He noticed an old man carrying bundles and running south. Just as he wanted to ask him, a messenger on horseback arrived. Bending low, he said, "General Shi, what is your direction? Why does this look like such a scene?" Kala answered, "Who are you?" The messenger knelt and replied, "I am the guardian of Nanjing city gates. This night, for some reason, the emperor opened the gates, took his concubines, and fled. I only managed to come here to inform you. All Chinese and military officials have disappeared. Unbeknownst to me, I found General Shi here." Kala heard the messenger's words and wept loudly, saying, "I, Shi Kala, was falsely studious of poetry and moral teachings. Seeing Huayan fall, Yangzhou hard to hold, I wanted to run to Nanjing to protect the emperor, hoping to restore the realm. Unluckily, the emperor fled without a trace, and at such a time of national breakdown and family ruin, what face could he possibly have to live by? So he removed his crown, robes, and boots and wept on the ground." The old man advised him, "Mr. Shi, you don't need to do this. Take your time to inquire about the emperor and seek revenge later." To which one of the characters replied, "Who are you?" The old man answered, "I am a Nanjing ceremonial attendant. I'm going to Shiyaye Mountain now. I serve the Emperor Chongzhen." Ken retorted, "You, a ceremonial attendant, still think of serving the previous emperor and seeking revenge? I, as an official, want to escape instead. Look at that army approaching." He wept bitterly, knelt down, and said, "Fortunately for the emperor, I could not avenge you or clear your name, so I am unable to face him below." The officer rode away after witnessing Kan's leap. The two men turned around and saw Kan leaping into the river, disappearing beneath the waves. The ceremonial attendant mourned for a while, buried his clothes on Meiling Peak, sighed deeply, and headed south. The outcome of everything remains unknown, so let's wait for the next installment to unfold. He listened daily to Ma Ningguyen's treachery, holding court performances in the Xuanfeng Palace and singing plays. 16th chapter. Escape of Nanjing court officials. Reunion at Xixia Mountain. Let's talk about the Emperor of Hongguang, a title given to a Ming Dynasty prince after the fall of Beijing since his enthronement. Shi, a prominent figure, warned him at night, causing great unrest among the people. However, upon moving the capital to Jiangning, the northern troops seized the opportunity, crossed the river, broke through Huai River, besieged Yangzhou, and trapped the emperor in Nanjing. The officials of Nanjing, devoid of loyalty, disappeared without a trace. Ma Sikong and Ming Dynasty hid themselves. His whole body trembled with fear. He was willing to sacrifice his life. The emperor, while performing plays in Xuanfeng Palace, suddenly heard about the northern troops crossing the river to lay siege to Nanjing. He ordered everyone to put out the lights, pack their belongings, and led the concubines to escape through the city gates. Upon learning of the emperor's escape, Ma Sicheng also gathered his family's valuables and fled. "Where are you running to with your wives and packed treasures?" They all lifted up their sticks and beat Ma to the ground, taking away his family. Ingyu and Daming rode past while Ma was lying on the ground. However, they encountered a mob of rebels who grabbed their women and stole their goods while shouting, "This is the thief Ma Sicheng, who has ruined the people's lives." Seeing his old colleague struggling, he asked, "Why aren't you running? What are you doing here?" Daming said, "This is unacceptable." Ma replied, "The rebels took my family and belongings from me. I couldn't escape. I should go back to protect them. My family and baggage are still back there. Let us divide them up." He was about to move when the rebels came forward with sticks, claiming that these were Nguyen Daming's personal belongings. They shouted. Daming listened in anger, shouting, "How dare you? Who do you think you are?" They said, "You're Nguyen Daming, right? We've got what's yours. Spread out." Everyone left, leaving Ma and Daming badly beaten with their wounds exposed. At this critical moment, Yang Wenjing, another character, rode past on his horse, spotted them, and dismounted to ask, "Why are you two here?" They explained that they had been robbed of everything, and only managed to save their lives. Wenjing ordered someone to give them clothes and helped them dress. He said, "Luckily, I have an extra horse. Both of you can ride out of the city." Suddenly, I saw the white gate of Bao, and Zheng Tuo's daughter ran away. Yang Wenchang, upon seeing this, said, "You two have escaped from the palace as well, but where is Yang Jun?" They replied, "He couldn't keep up due to his small feet, so he hired a sedan chair and left first." Suddenly, someone called out, "Oh Lord Yang, the northern troops have crossed the river, the emperor has fled, and all palace maidens are scattered." Long Yu looked up and saw it was Shen Gongchen and Zhang Yanrui. Confirming the news, he changed his clothes and joined the crowd heading towards Qinhuai. They reached Xiangjun's doorstep, where Long Yu knocked on the door. Lan Ying opened the door, and seeing it was Long Yu, she urgently called out, "Xiangjun, Lord Yang has come." Xiangjun, upon seeing young Long Yu, didn't have time to exchange greetings and asked urgently, "Lord Yang, do you know anything about Hulong?" Long Yu hadn't answered when Su Kunsheng hurried forward and said, "Has Xiangjun come out?" Xiangjun asked, "Master Su, where did you come from? Can you see Hulong?" Quan Sheng replied, "I was in prison for Hao, specifically requesting help from the left Ningnan to rescue him. However, Ningnan died halfway through his journey, so I returned to Beijing. How could I not see Hulong return? Upon hearing this news, I rushed here only to find that the prison doors were open and all inmates escaped." Hearing these words, Xiangjun broke into tears. Long Yu and everyone consoled her briefly before leaving with the crowd, returning to their hometowns. Xiangjun then told Quan Sheng, "Yesterday, when we went through so much trouble to bring Hulong back, he was already in the palace. Today, as he's out of the palace, I can't even meet him face to face. Please show your compassion, Master Su. Take me around looking for him. Only then will I be content." Quan Sheng said, "In these chaotic times, it's hard to know where to go." Lan Ying suggested, "East Mountain Shuxia is a secluded place with few visitors. There's a genie guard named Zhang Yaostar who took monastic vows there. It's possible that Hu Gong, the Grand Chancellor, went there to avoid the turmoil. I intend to ask Yaostar for guidance. Why don't we travel together? Perhaps fate will lead us to find Hulong, or perhaps not. What do you think?" Quan Sheng and Xiangjun both agreed with this plan, so they packed up their belongings and set off for Shuxia together. Meanwhile, Hao Kaozong, along with Chen Dingsheng, Wu Chiai, and Liu Jingting, managed to escape from prison by following the river. Everyone asked, "Old brother, where are you headed?" As they discussed dividing up to escape, the old man stumbled and ran towards them. He replied, "I'm going to Sixia Mountain to help Emperor Chongzhen." They inquired about their destination, saying, "We escaped from Beijing. We want to escort this person across the river. With the northern troops advancing, we're unsure of our direction." Kaozong agreed. The old man suggested, "Siuxia Mountain is a secluded place. Given that His Excellency has no clear path, perhaps we could all go there to avoid the turmoil, and after peace is restored, we can figure out our next steps." They bid farewell to Chen, Wu, and their companions, with Kaozong and Liu Jingting traveling with the old man towards Siuxia. Unbeknownst to them, Xiangjun and Su Kunsheng had already arrived at Siuxia, led by Lan Tian's brother, knocking on doors seeking a place to stay. They encountered Wenjing True Name, Bai Yu Jing, the abbot of Baoxuan Temple, who invited them to stay temporarily. Meanwhile, Hao Kaozong, Liu Jingting, and their guide reached Siuxia, and Kaozong said to the guide, "This is Shuxia Mountain. Look for a hall and have everyone settle in early." Upon glancing up, he noticed an annex and suggested knocking on its door. Yu Jing said, "This is the female pathkeeper who never entertains guests." Xiangjun sighed, "This person is so bothersome." Jingting replied, "We are not like wandering monks, so staying for a while is no problem." Yu Jing said, "Ignore him and go to the incense kitchen for a vegetarian meal." Everyone saw that there was no response from inside. They waited for a moment and then continued on their way. Just as they were walking, they suddenly saw someone approaching with a basket. The usher bowed and said, "Someone is coming over there." He then bowed again and said, "Hold along. I am climbing the mountain to do good deeds. May I temporarily store my luggage at the Tao Institute? Please grant me your kindness." Jingting answered, "Who else could he be?" The pathmaker looked up carefully and exclaimed, "This gentleman looks like Lord Hanan Hao." The pathmaker nodded again. "Brother, aren't you Liu Jingting?" Jingting and Xiangjun recognized him and said, "You must be Ding Jizi. Why have you left home?" He asked. "Could we temporarily stay here?" Jiji explained his reasons for leaving, and told everyone that not far ahead was his practice place. The usher saw that they had met an old friend and left with a bow. Ding Jizi led Xiangjun and Jingting along the road, sharing some parting words. Jingting suggested, since the palace is in disarray, Xiangjun should also have left. When he mentioned Xiangjun, Xiangjun wiped away tears and said, Xiangjun entered the palace. There's been no news from her. Let's visit her after things settle down. While they were talking, they arrived at Jizi's temple, where they rested for several days. Yu Jing told Xiangjun, I'm going to the White Cloud Temple to listen to lectures. Would you like to come with me and clear your mind? On July 15th, the White Cloud Temple was building an altar to commemorate the late emperor, with monks and villagers from other temples and villages all attending the ritual. Xiangjun happily packed her things and came with Yu Jing for a visit. There were many Taoists and lay people in the temple. Unbeknownst to them, Hao Changsong and Ding Jizi also came to the White Cloud Temple in celebration. The crowd was dense, with people coming and going. In the midst of the crowd, Changsong saw a woman dressed in somber yet elegant clothing with a graceful figure. He thought, that woman looks just like Xiangjun. He took out his peach fan and played with it towards Xiangjun. Xiangjun first noticed Changsong standing among the crowd but didn't pay much attention. When she saw the peach fan, she looked closely and exclaimed, Isn't that Hao Lang? Changsong heard her and approached her, weeping as he recognized her. Are you really my Xiangjun? The two of them were overcome with emotion upon seeing each other, unaware of the sacredness of the temple or the presence of many people. They pulled each other close, wailing in sorrow while expressing their feelings, not wanting to let go. Zhang Yaoxing, who was on the altar, saw this scene and shouted, What is this, young lovers, making out below my sacred altar? Jiji explained, This is Lord Hu. Changzong recounted his story. Yaoxing asked, Lord Hu? How did you get out of prison? Yaoxing then inquired, Who is that woman? Yu Jing said, She is Xiangjun, Lord Hao's concubine. Leave immediately, Yaoxing declared. Since this place is a sacred altar, I won't allow this. Jiji and Yu Jing followed the order, taking the two lovers away. Outside the temple, they cried uncontrollably, each telling their side of the story. They then asked Ding Jizi to find Liu Jingting, and Yu Jing to locate Su Kunsheng. They expressed their gratitude to both for saving them, and thanked Jiji and Yu Jing for sheltering them. After the situation stabilized, he left Jizi in Wanqing, bringing Su and Liu back home. At this time, due to the chaos of soldiers, he dared not return home, so he entrusted Jizi to find a residence for him, and both he and his wife lived in the same house as Jingting and Kunsheng to escape the turmoil. On their way to the river to buy a boat, they encountered Li Zhengli's ship, and all four of them boarded the ship and traveled to Henan. Upon arriving at his home, as his father had escaped to the mountains during the turmoil, he took Liu Jingting to the mountains of Zenan and found his father. Kunsheng paid a visit, and Zhengli and Xiangjun also came to pay their respects, bringing the family together again. Qiaozong and Xiangjun lived until they were over 80 and died peacefully. Qiaozong had no ambition for fame or position. Due to Xiangjun's giving birth to 3 sons, he only taught them at home, and later each one achieved fame and became renowned for their scholarship. There are 2 7-line poems as mementos. Poem said, Previous affairs in the south, a dream of many years, the rise and fall of empires, a momentary disturbance of autumn insects. Most affectionate was the Prince Hu, enjoying the wind at the base of the peach fan. Another poem says, Noblemen with charming personalities and sense, how did they become distinguished and raise their spears? Yet they all left their posts to accept invitations from peasant homes, just like the swallows of Zuzhou Tower.